Hi, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We got a really good show tonight, and I really appreciate everybody that's here. And got my esteemed co-host tonight here, Dan McNew, knows as much as anybody about music. And anyway, so what tonight we're going to talk about bands that were game changers, and of course that's pretty subjective. But I think there's some that we're all going to be able to agree on. There's some that people are going to say, "Hey, well, what about this band? What about that band?" And those are all valid points. Everybody's game didn't change at the same time by the same band, but I think there's going to be some we can all agree on. And I think we have to start number one with Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley was considered the king of rock and roll for years. And I've got to read something, these notes off the back of his first album. I've got to read these notes. This is the first album Elvis ever made, released in 1956. But I might not read all of this, but it starts out, Elvis Presley zoomed into, okay, thank you. Elvis Presley zoomed into big entertainment practically overnight. Born in Tupelo, Mississippi, Elvis began singing for friends in folk gatherings when he was barely 5 years old. All his training has been self-instruction and hard work. At an early age, with not enough money to buy a guitar, he practiced for his future stardom by strumming on a broomstick.
First air guitar.
Yeah, first air guitar. That's right. Elvis Presley, first air guitar. And he graduated to a $2.98 guitar and began picking out tunes and singing on street corners. After earning some money by working part-time jobs, Elvis walked into a small recording company studio, asked to make a record at his own expense. In a few months, his first record was released and became an overnight sensation. Paid for it himself, probably cost next to nothing, became an overnight sensation. In a few months, his first record was released, became an overnight sensation. Following his graduation from high school, Elvis began an extended round of personal appearances and then signed his contract with RCA Victor. The rest is history. Elvis is the most original protagonist of popular songs on the scene today. His style sounds, of course, this is 1956. His style stands out vividly on records and in personal appearances and accounts from his universal popularity that he gained. So anyway, Elvis was an absolute game changer, no question about it. Elvis changed the game for rock and roll. There was some rock and roll before that, a lot of rockabilly and things like that, but Elvis was an absolute game changer. And I've got some Elvis albums here, but I thought I'd ask Dan what his thoughts are on Elvis.
Well, I got a question about it. You said he paid for his first recording. Now, it doesn't say where he made that recording from or how he made it.
No, it was in a studio somewhere, and he paid to have it recorded.
Okay.
From Tupelo, Mississippi, I assume it would, but no, I really don't. Maybe it was in Nashville,
Well, because back in the old days, they used to have recording booths you could go into. There's a little room, you shut the doors, and it would record. You could record it right there, just kind of like a photo, the photo booth they have. They used to have recording booths where you could record it that way. So I kind of wonder if that's how. Yeah, it was just like a photo booth. Only you record. They actually had one at the Texas State Fair years ago, and I was in a high school band at the time, and we all crammed inside the little booth, and we sang to our band theme song. And I still got a recording of that from the little machine.
Oh, do you?
So if you're as broke as Elvis was back in those days, studios were even expensive back then for what he was making.
Yeah, for a young man working part-time jobs to pay for his own, Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, I'm going to have to look that up because you've really got me curious now about that.
Yeah. How did a poor boy make a recording?
Right. Right.
The cheapest way possible.
The cheapest way possible. Absolutely. And it's just amazing how it took off. Elvis was an icon. I don't think anybody would dispute that he changed the game in rock and roll, because that's kind of what the show is about. Bands that change the game. the overall game, not necessarily every individual because we've all got different taste. But Elvis did change the game. And I'll just flash a few Elvis albums here. I mean, I've got it's funny because, I'm going around on my second and third time on some of these people, I mean, I've got, several of the people I'm going to show here, I've already shown twice, and maybe showing again. But anyway, this was a great one. Blue Suede Shoes, One-Sided Love Affair, Tutti Frutti. I'm gonna sit right down and cry. We've all felt that before. Blue Moon and Money Honey. Okay, but a very young Elvis in 1956, who died at what was he, 40 years old when he died? I mean, that's a very young age to die too.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah, really sad. Now the one Elvis there may have been more than one, but this is a copy of the album I grew up with, me and my younger brother. We've talked about this before. My parents owned this one. We had a little record player, looked like a little suitcase, and you'd pull the snaps up, and on hinges the speakers would swing out. And then you'd lift the top up on hinges, and you could stack those 45s in there with the spiders on them, and stuff like that. And they had a ton of that stuff. My dad worked for an alcohol distributing company. He'd go around all these places delivering and stuff at times before he wound up being a manager for Steve Wynn at the largest liquor distributing company in Vegas before Steve Wynn ever owned a casino. I actually worked there too for a while and knew Steve. But anyway, so he'd go around all these places, and they all had jukeboxes, and they'd wind up giving him, 45s and stuff. We had tons of 45s, and but they had this album, and we loved this album. We grew up with it. We saw Elvis's movies. My dad took us to the drive-in with our friends. We saw the Elvis movies and stuff like that. Another one I have here is Blue Hawaii. It's got the cool thing about this one is it's got, of course, Blue Hawaii, blue vinyl.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. There's the songs are more toward Hawaii on this album. I don't recognize a lot of them as Elvis staples. Aloha, Oh, Blue Hawaii. I recognize Blue Hawaii. That was a good song. Hawaiian Sunset, Beach Boy Blues, Hawaiian Wedding Song. So this was kind of all about Hawaii. This particular album. I don't know if I mentioned this or if anybody picked up on it, but this copy of the album I grew up with is actually in, what are they calling it? They're calling it some kind of gold splatter, and it's really pretty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I played this, and it plays really well. A lot of these things are made from old 2-track recordings and stuff like that, and I mean old 2-track recordings. And I've got a little more Elvis here. And I have a lot more than what I pulled out on almost all of these. This is the Essential Elvis Presley. It's a 2-album set. Now, this one I really like. It's got That's All Right. Let's see, Heartbreak Hotel. What a great song. Since my baby left me. Blue Suede Shoes, Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, Love Me Tender. I mean, this was just, I'm not going to read all the songs, but I mean, In the Ghetto was kind of a game changer because Elvis had kind of, he kind of like all the great rock bands from Woodstock and everything like that were out, and Elvis came out with In the Ghetto, and it shot way up to the top of the charts again.
Yeah,
created a lot of excitement, and I like Viva Las Vegas, of course, being a Vegas boy. That was a huge song to me. Return to Sender, and this is all hits right here. This is a really great 2-album set. I'm really glad that I have this. I listened to it a couple of weeks ago. So that's kind of all the Elvis albums I wanted to show. Dan, do you have more you want to add on Elvis?
Elvis.
You met him. You actually met him in by Waikiki Beach. He flew in a helicopter. I've watched the video a couple of times, even recently on Rachel's show.
Yeah, well, to me, Elvis, I knew who Elvis was at the time when he was popular. I was probably about 6 years old, but I heard Elvis, and to me is about the same time I discovered the Beatles. So they're about the same time.
Gotcha.
And my parents were more of an Elvis fan, and I was more of a Beatles fan.
Right.
And as the
Right.
years went on, to me, Elvis was the guy that made these corny movies. You know,
Right.
and he was the king of rock and roll. I mean, I knew all that, but to me, I wasn't really a fan until I met
Right.
him. And then when I met him, that's when I really looked at him a little bit different, you know, and listened more to his music. I thought, wow, this guy's great, you know.
Yeah, no, he really was a super talent. What a voice, you know. And you know what? And he does that gospel music so well. You want to go out and buy all his gospel albums. I mean, he does a great job on all of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
my mom had a lot of his gospel albums.
yeah, and you know, and I don't buy a lot. I can't say a lot. I don't buy much. If any, I wind up with some gospel. I got some Aretha Franklin gospel. And but every time Elvis did a gospel song that I heard, I really liked it. I mean, just great job on those, you know. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but Caitlin had her show last night, Caitlin's Corner, Caitlin Stoddard.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
did catch a bit of that.
yeah, I did too. I watched the whole thing later. I didn't get to see it live. I've been working a lot lately. I was so tired when I got home. I promised this job to be finished today, and I thought it'd be done by noon. And I got to go back tomorrow. You know, I worked late on it. And anyway, it's all good. That happens. Seems to happen to me a lot these days. But so Elvis was fantastic. Like I said, my brother and I watched all his movies, and they were corny, but you know, and Margaret kind of spiced them up a little bit.
Let's go back to the two shot.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were still fun. You know, all the movies he made, especially at the age that we saw them, they were fun. We were seeing them when they came out, and we were just kids, you know, at the drive-in theater with all our friends. But anyway, so that was Elvis.
You know, I
Go
always
ahead.
got a kick. I always got a kick out of his movies because, you know, the girl would come along. Next, you know, he starts singing, and this band would just show up. You know,
Right. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
matter
No,
where he's at, just magically show up. You know, wow.
just magic. A whole band would just show up. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, but anyway, so Elvis is an icon. He was a game changer. And the next one I have on my list for being a changing the game is the Beatles. And the
Yeah.
Beatles changed the game as well. And you know, it's funny because the Beatles, 1964, their first American tour, and you know, they had an act that opened up for them. And this is the original album, original pressing of the band that opened up for them. You know, they had the big red rubber ball. The yellow sun was shining like a red rubber ball. I remember
Yeah.
that song, but I didn't know that the circle with a Cyrkle instead of Circle. And John Lennon gave them the spelling of that to make it unique. Yeah. And
Makes
so
sense.
they opened for the Beatles on their first American tour. I always think that's interesting. So whenever I'm talking about the Beatles, I have to show it. But I've got quite a bit of Beatles here. You know, I've got this is an original pressing of Help that I recently acquired. In fact, the antique store I bought it from has got another one right now. But this was absolutely pristine. You know, and it's got A Hard Day's Night. Tell Me Why I Cry Instead. I Should Have Known Better with a Girl Like You. And I Love Her. I love that song. And I love her. Bright are the stars that shine. Okay, and I love her. Ringo's theme, Can't Buy Me Love, A Hard Day's Night. Yeah, so that's side two's got A Hard Day's Night on both sides. Can't Buy Me Love. And okay, so that's it. Well, that's okay. Some of them are instrumentals. Some of them are the singing versions, some of the instrumentals. Okay. United Artists, original pressing of A Hard Day's Night. Then I've got one that didn't come out much later, and that was Beatles 65. And this has got a lot of cool songs on it too, you know. I'm a Loser. Boy, can I relate to that. I'll follow the sun. Honey, don't. She's a woman. Everyone's trying to be my baby. Okay, so that's Beatles 65. The reason I'm showing this particular compilation, I've actually got the blue one as well. And I always love the photographs front and back. This was what was long hair when the Beatles first came out. The hair that my father was no way my father was going to let me grow my hair long and wear Beatle boots.
Oh yeah.
And a few years later, boy, now that's about what my hair looked like when I was 17 years old. And I've got a picture of me and my wife pre-marriage, 1970, I think, one or two at the Pike in Long Beach. And it's a photo booth. You were talking about photo booths and
Yeah.
recording. This is at a photo booth. And I think my hair was longer than hers. Yeah,
I know
but
that
I
feeling.
think that's funny. It was back then that all my friends, I told this story so many times people are probably sick of it. But it was back then all my friends got their Beatle boots. And I wanted some so bad. I was begging my father for Beatle boots. He finally took me up to the shoe store to have a look. And he looked at those, and he shook his head and laughed. He goes, "I'm not buying you those fairy boots." And I never got Beatle boots. I mean, he just would not do it, you know. And okay, I'll save a couple of these. Revolver. This is an original pressing on the Parlophone label. And it's the one that comes with a couple of extra songs that only the original Parlophone comes with. I'll pop it out just to. I love showing off the Parlophone label because you don't find those anymore. Uh, let's see. Okay, there we go. Parlophone from the UK. And I mean, look at that vinyl. I mean, I don't know how I got so lucky when I picked some of these up because, I mean, this vinyl is absolutely pristine.
Yeah.
And you know, I look for that. I didn't realize you could have some pretty significant looking scratches and they'll play right through and don't even hear the scratches. I found that out, you know, more recently. I always avoided anything that wasn't pristine, but Revolver's a great one. You know, Taxman. um, I feel pain when I read that word, Taxman.
Yeah.
You know, Eleanor Rigsby. I won't read them all, but Yellow Submarine. I always loved that. I used to sing that song just for fun because I loved it so much, and it was Ringo. You know, Ringo never got to sing very often. Good Day Sunshine. I wanna tell you, got to get you out of my life, and tomorrow never comes. And that was Revolver. And there's a couple of songs there that aren't on, you know, most of the other albums. Okay, I'll show this compilation. I didn't show this yet. Well, I showed the pictures of the long hair and stuff. But what was significant about this when I found it, and I didn't know they existed. You can also find this with the Blue album compilation. And the compilations came about because somebody made a bunch of bootlegs and was selling them on TV, Beatles compilations. And they sued him, and the guy had to stop. But what they realized in all of this was that there was a market for compilations. They wound up making the red and blue albums, you know. But I didn't realize that you could. They came out. This is 1978. You can get it in color in 1978. And
Wow.
my blue. I pull this one out, not the blue album, only because of the color, you know. And they're both 2 album sets, and they both have. I remember unboxing the Beatles before, and I made the comment. I might choose that blue compilation over if I could only have one Beatles album because there were so many good songs on it, you know. And there's a lot of good songs, equally good songs on this one. They really loaded these up with the best stuff. Anyway, it's a 2 album set. I won't pull out the other one. It looks just like that one, red. I don't have it in. Well, you know what? If I'm going to read any songs, I'm going to have to pull it out. Okay. Day Tripper. She was a day tripper. Okay. Help. You've got to hide your love away. We can work it out. Baby, you can drive my car. Okay. Day Tripper. I said that already. Drive. Okay. So anyway, these are all big hits. And let me just take a quick peek what some of the songs are on the second album. Hard Day's Night. And I Love Her. Yeah, I really like that song. I mentioned that already. I Feel Fine. 8 days a week. She's got a ticket to ride. and Yesterday. So these are great songs. These are I think I like the Blue album a little bit better, but I like them both. And then I saved this. I saved this for the last, and that's my copy of the Beatles White Album. And it's kind of hard to see, but the Beatles isn't okay. Now you can see it. The Beatles is embossed right across here. No color or anything, just embossed, and the number is stamped at the bottom. And what's 72,000 sounds like a high number. 70,000. But in the context of them having made 3 million, I like to brag about this. Yeah. 70,000 is in the lowest 2% of numbers. In fact, I found that I bought 5 albums yesterday at this antique store in Cayuga. So some really good stuff. And they had a White Album in there. And the number was in the millions. It was like, 200 and something million. This is 70,000. So it really is a low number compared to how many they made. But what's cool about this, it is a 2-album set, but what you're going to find here that you don't find oftentimes when you find White Albums, because I've looked at a lot of White Albums since I bought this White Album, and you've got your photographs in here. All right, who stole my photographs? I got the original poster that when the first time I ever opened this up, it felt like it had never been opened before. The original poster. On the back is the songs and all the words to the songs. Okay, so let me fold that back up, and it also has a photograph of all 4 of the Beatles, and here they are, and they're real flimsy. The later versions were kind of a harder cardstock, but this is the way the originals were printed. Oops, I got it upside down. Okay, there you go. John, George, and these are all, like I said, I don't know how I got so lucky. I found this in it's called something Trading Post down by Santa Maria. Ringo and John, and they had 2 of them in there to look at, and this one had it all. The lower number. The other one was missing the pictures. It's hard to find them with all the goodies in it, And the neat thing about it, there's so many keys to let you know it's an original pressing, and one of them is on the in the arc around the half apple. There's some writing, and it says, well, there's only one word that matters that proves that it's an original pressing, and that is Capitol Records. It says Capitol Records. And also etched into the album itself is another code that tells you it's an original pressing. And anyway, I'm not going to go through all that. So anyway, this is original pressing, number 70,000. And anymore, I'm very happy. I've never found another one with a number that low, as high as that sounds. 70,000 is low when it comes to White Albums. So I really try to take care of this. It's got that same kind of cover that Beggars Banquet has, that kind of yellows. Even you have it put away, it's yellowing. That's kind of weird, but it's okay. Just the way it is. I mean, a lot of them you see, if you see them online for sale and stuff, you'll actually see the you'll actually see kind of the circle from the album. They kind of just go around in a circle and stuff. Some of them are really, really, really noticeable. But anyway, so that's the Beatles, Dan. I mean, what have you got? Do you have any albums or just some stories or?
I don't. My main thing about the Beatles was when I was stationed overseas, my roommate was one of the biggest Beatle fans there was, and all those pictures you just showed, he had a poster all over the wall.
Did he really?
I mean,
Wow.
because it reminded him of back home, basically. So,
Right.
so anytime, back then that's when McCartney had just come out on his own, and he's a
Right.
big McCartney fan as well. So we had a lot of McCartney stuff up there. You
Gotcha.
used to drive me crazy because
Right.
we both had stereos in our room, so we'd take turns, playing an album. He'd play an album, and I'd play an album.
Okay.
But it never felt. He always played Beatles and McCartney. That's all he ever played.
Yeah. That's funny. My younger brother Richie comes on sometimes. Um, I remember one of his bands, after the Beatles broke up, they played a lot of Paul McCartney and Wing songs. They were big fans of theirs, and I never really got so much into the Beatles as individuals. Although I actually like George Harrison, All Things Must Pass, and
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I've listened to music and stuff like that, and there was a lot of good music, and Paul McCartney had a lot of good stuff. And but Ringo has really come into his own these
Yeah.
last few years and stuff. The Ringo Starr All-Star Band. I was watching television. It's been in the last 4 or 5 months, and Ringo was up on stage singing and dancing around and stuff like that. He's got a good voice, And Paul McCartney was there, not part of the performance, but Ringo called Paul up on stage and invited Paul to sing with him and stuff like that. And they kind of singing together. And Ringo's voice today is better than Paul's,
Yeah.
I mean, that was my take on the whole thing.
Yeah. I've got a few Beatles albums.
Yeah.
To me, I really listened to the Beatles more, I think, after they broke up. In
Right.
retrospect,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I'm a couple of years older than you.
Yeah.
For me, it was like I think the British invasion was taking place in 6th and 7th grade for me, and it was just earth shattering, and that's why the Beatles to me are like groundbreaking band. And so everybody was a Beatles fan. Everybody loved the Beatles. I mean, everybody knew their songs. People were singing their songs. I mean, they were just a huge influence on us at that early age. 6th grade, 7th grade. Rolling Stones were right. Rolling Stones were kind of right behind them. Actually, there was a lot of good.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good bands in the British invasion. A lot of good bands. I mean, I loved. God, I mean, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Ferry Across the Mersey, and the Dave Clark Five. I have a Dave Clark Five album. They had the biggest fan club of anybody back in the day, and they were huge. They had hit after hit. The Dave Clark Five were big, but there was so many great bands, but the Beatles were kind of on top, and Eric Burdon. I love Eric Burdon. I've got Eric Burdon music, and I saw Eric Burdon in concert. I was on the Laughlin River Run. We rode our Harleys back to Laughlin, Nevada. I picked up a little newspaper thing on the street to see what was going on in town, and right across the street, Eric Burdon was playing, and I called across the street and got tickets, and Betty and I went and saw it. It was like tiny little venue, no such thing as a bad seat in there. Everything was a great seat. And it was just so much fun because he kept talking about how much he loved the blues and how so many of his songs were blues songs. And when he finally sang House of the Rising Sun, everybody stood up and sang with him. And I didn't even know he was still alive, to be perfectly honest with you, until I picked up that little paper to see what was going on in town. He was playing across the street, And I mean, that was like a highlight for me, getting to sing House of the Rising Sun. A song I've struggled to play my whole life on the guitar, to be able to sing that with Eric Burdon was just fantastic. I got to say hi to Gloria. Gloria just popped in.
Hello, Gloria.
Well, that was too easy. Hi, Gloria. How are you? Merry Christmas. Hey, I wanted to say to everybody, you guys know that I've been doing these little 8 to 20 minute travel vlogs. I did a few lately, and we went out to the Pozo Saloon. We went out to Parkville, the earthquake capital of the world, and then we did the Madonna Inn, which was a lot of fun. But I've done a few lately, and I've got a couple that are. One's going to be on tomorrow night at 6:30, and one's going to be on Tuesday night at 6:30. Now, Tuesday night is my Christmas show, uh, and it's on Solvang, California. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from where we live, and it's actually not far from Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch in Santa Ynez. And so anyway, my Christmas show is Tuesday night at 6:30. It's on Solvang. Solvang is the Danish capital of the United States. It was settled by Danish settlers in the 1900s. They built windmills. I mean, it looks like Copenhagen, and they got all the Danish pastries and all this stuff. Everything is just, you'd think you were in Copenhagen if you were there. And so that it's on that. It was filmed in Solvang, and Solvang is considered also one of the top 10 most Christmassy towns in America. Excuse me 1 second. I got to let my dog out before she makes any more noise. Come on, Frankie. Come on, buddy. Good boy. Okay. So that's Tuesday night, my Christmas show. And tomorrow night it's just a little fun show, place we like to go that plays live music there in Morro Bay. And it was one of the best people I've seen there performing. He played just great song after great song, and I filmed several of them, and we were interacting. And it was just a fun little 10-minute thing, but it's kind of fun to watch. But the Christmas, that's on tomorrow night at 6:30, and the Christmas show's on Tuesday night at 6:30. And I also wanted to say that I've been thinking about a lot of different things, trying to mix it up. I mean, I'm going second, third time sometimes on unboxing certain people, which is okay because there's a new twist on all of them. But I don't know that just vinyl unboxing is that sustainable long term. So I'm going to start having a little bit more of a variety show after the first of the year. I mean, there's so many people and things that I'm a fan of that, I'm a big fan of Muhammad Ali. I'd like to have a Muhammad Ali show, I love that guy. And there's things like that, I mean, there's so many different things you can do a show on. So I might have to tweak the name a little bit from, vinyl unboxing and storytelling to vinyl unboxing and other things, other stories, so it's just not, it's not going to be 100% vinyl unboxing. I'm not going to stop vinyl unboxing. I enjoy vinyl unboxing, and it's really motivated me to gain a lot of great music that I haven't had in a while, and that's fun. And I enjoy talking about it, and I've been enjoying, every other night I'm playing albums out in the front room when I can get my wife to give up the Hallmark channel long enough, and no, she's fair about it. But I want to have more of a variety show, vinyl unboxing, one show, and then a couple of shows that are completely different from vinyl unboxing, just completely different. It might have to do with movies or sports figures or other things. We need other things, a little more variety. So that's going to be happening after the first of the year, and we really won't have a show next weekend. It's kind of Christmas weekend, so probably well, wait a minute, Dan. You had some guests that wanted. Is that still?
That's the live portion won't happen. That's
Okay.
that's the bad. That was the bad news. I met
Okay.
with them last night, and what they're wanting to what they're badly looking for is more of a promo over the band with the interview. They want a
Oh,
formal,
okay.
where I can put in some of their current music and then do an interview with them. And they want me to come
Okay.
down. They want me to come down to the studio and do it. Have the whole setup.
Okay. Okay. So that might actually be on your channel then.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Okay,
the
that's fine.
reason
Yeah.
that
That's fine.
the reason that they're against doing it live is because they've done live interviews before, and
Right.
evidently there's a rift between these guys and the original band that
Oh,
they used to be with,
I
and
got you.
one guy has a hard time holding his temper about it.
Always a
So,
problem. I mean, there's always a problem somewhere.
well,
It's
the
just
original their original band, I won't mention their name right now, but they're very famous,
yeah.
and basically that band still exists, but it's basically replacements. And
Right.
the old band is basically this new band
New
under a different
band.
name. So
Right.
it's kind of confusing.
Well, no, that does create big problems for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're in
Yeah.
the studio. They're in the studio now recording, and this would be the
Oh,
best time to catch them. They're hooking up with a bunch of festivals this spring and summer, so
yeah.
want to catch them before they head out on tour.
Well, I'm gonna buy tickets. I mentioned before this is considered wine country. We've got 250 wineries here, and about to eclipse Napa. As the main wine producing region in all of California. But we've got wineries. Oh my God! You can drive down these country roads. You'll come to an intersection. There'll be like 40 signs pointing, with winery names on them. It's like, oh my God! You could go down in any direction and spend the entire day looking at wineries. It's just insane. But there's one called Vina Robles, and Vina Robles built a big, kind of like the Santa Barbara Bowl, where I saw Rod Stewart, about a year ago, Betty and I. And and it's not nearly as big as a Santa Barbara. It's still a small venue, but they get great people there. Jackson Brown comes. We saw with Brian Adams there. Betty and I saw Brian Adams. The Beach Boys were there last month, and Alice Cooper's coming with Ace Frehley. So I'm going to be buying tickets in the next couple. But it's not till April. But I want to get my tickets. And that ought to really be fun. Like I said, it's a small venue. We have Alice Cooper and Ace Frehley. That's going to be a lot of fun, And so I'm going to get tickets for that, and I'll try to film some songs and stuff and bring them on a show. I hope I don't get copyrighted for that. Anyway, so all right. So we talked about Elvis. We talked about the Beatles. Now, I feel guilty talking about the Beatles as big as groundbreakers as they are, without mentioning one of my all-time favorites that endured for me actually much longer than the Beatles. Although the Beatles, I've come in and out of listening to the Beatles. I mean, they were when I was a kid, and then they started touring the United States and making all these albums. I was a huge Beatles fan. I used to go to California and argue with my cousins. They would name Beach Boys songs, I would name Beatles fans. We'd argue back and forth. They usually end in a draw, but the Beatles, I at some point I became a bigger fan of the Rolling Stones than the Beatles. So I have a hard time talking about the Beatles and not also feeling like I need to throw, a bone to the Rolling Stones. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I just want to show a few Rolling Stones albums, and I'll start off with. I think I'll start off with one of my all-time favorites here. I have a lot of favorites. I mean, the Stones are just endless. I've got 3 times as many Stone albums, but this is the newer version of this. And certainly this is not the right cover, but this is the newer version of Sticky Fingers, with this just great songs on it. But I was really happy when I found this version, and this is the version with the functioning zipper,
Yeah.
Got a zipper here that actually these are like the originals. They did actually duplicate these two at some point, but this zipper, I don't know how easy this is to see, but this zipper actually functions. It slides up and down, and this was the copy. I didn't realize that for a long time. When I found that out, I had to have one, and the first one I found was so scratched up. You were going to be buying this $35 album just for the zippered cover, and I couldn't do that, So I waited until I found a pristine copy of this, and that happens to be this copy. Of course, the other one's 180-gram audiophile vinyl, the newer copy that I have, and it's of course pristine. It's only been played once, but this plays perfectly, and it's an oldie too, and it's got I Got the Blues. Sister Morphine. These are great songs. Sister Morphine, Dead Flowers, Moonlight Mile. These are some of my favorite Stone songs, to be honest with you. You've got Sway, Wild Horses. Everybody loves that. My wife, everybody in the family loves Wild Horses. Can't You Hear Me Knocking? You've Got to Move. This is just a great album. I only bought the second version of it because it had the operating zipper. It may be an original. I just haven't spent the time to try to find that out. I was told it was an original pressing. Certainly not the original sleeve. So anyway, so that's Sticky Fingers. I had another version of this album here, Some Girls. And this is a great album too. I love this album. And then all of a sudden I was pulling it out, unboxing when I was with the guys, McVeigh and Altini and Pat and them. And somebody go, "Oh, you don't have the original." I go, "Yeah, this is the original." They go, "No, the original, the women, when you slide this and slide the faces past, the women have, some of them have yellow hair. See the yellow hair?
Yeah.
The yellow hair, that's an original, the yellow hair." Okay. My other one doesn't have yellow hair, So,
Okay.
so the reason I bought this one was for the yellow hair, It's no better than the other one. And this is a great album too. And this is a lot like that Beatles White Album. It's the same type of paper that yellows naturally. No matter what you do with it, it starts to yellow. Okay, which is okay. But it's Beggars Banquet. This is a great Sympathy for the Devil. Let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, Street Fighting Man, Stray Cat Blues, Factory Girl. That's a fun song. Salt of the Earth, Jigsaw Puzzle, Parachute Woman. Anyway, this got some great songs on it. They're very popular, Beggars Banquet. And then I recently acquired this 50th anniversary edition, 180 gram vinyl of Let It Bleed. And this is also, the Stones, like I said, the Stones, in my opinion, they pretty much, at least for me, overtook the Beatles at some point, 8th, 9th grade. Let It Bleed, Love in Vain, Midnight Rambler, Gimme Shelter, You Can't Always Get What You Want, Honky, what is it? Honky. The label's covered. I can't read some of the words in the middle. But so anyway, so that's my Stones, which really weren't on my list, but I couldn't help myself. And so we've really only done so far of the list that I have, Elvis and the Beatles, and next on my list was Jimi Hendrix. Now this is where I get a little crazy, because for me, Hendrix and Zeppelin are my 1 and 2 as far as bands. I love a lot of music, but Hendrix and Zeppelin have just been with me forever, and they'll be with me forever. In fact, when I found this 8-album set,
Jeez.
Jimi Hendrix Experience, this was made in 2000. It's 20 years old. And the reason the shrink wrap's not on it, because it's 20 years old with the shrink wrap still on it. And I haven't been able to take it off yet. They just started making these again 21 years later. But the unique thing about this original one is the cover. This cover is velvet. It's velvet. The new ones aren't velvet. Only the 2000 issue is velvet. And it's 8 albums. And these are not studio albums. I thought there was some studio albums in here. I don't know why. You'll have like 3 or 4 different versions of Purple Haze. You know what I mean? And these are all other outtakes that weren't on the studio albums. And right off the bat, Purple Haze, Killing Floor, Hey Joe, Foxy Lady, Highway Chili. But then you go to side 2, you got another version of Hey Joe. Third Stone from the Sun. Then you go to, like, say, Disc 2, and Rock Me Baby, Burning the Midnight Oil, Like a Rolling Stone. The other side, you've got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. You won't find these on a studio album. Of course, the Jimi Hendrix only had 3 studio albums. And he was only active as the Jimi Hendrix Experience for 4 years. Lil Wing, I love that song, Lil Wing. That's a Jimi Hendrix original.
Everybody plays Lil Wing. Even Dimebag Darrell played Lil Wing.
Yeah, it's a great song. Very sweet song. But you'll see a lot of these repeated, but they're all played a little differently. And that was the neat thing about Hendrix. When he produced his first album, and they went to turn it in and have it produced after they recorded it, They told him, no, these songs are too long. Nobody's going to buy a song that's more than 3 minutes long. So he went
Yeah.
back and had to change them all and condense them down to 3 minutes. Well, the beauty about Jimi Hendrix was he likes to do the improvisation on the guitar and with these long, extended, amazing, never to be duplicated in the same way again solos, And so anyway, so you'll see a lot of these same songs, just different takes of them. There's Lil Wing again.
Well, when it is on there again, does it describe what the difference is from the previous? I know Badfinger used to do that.
Yeah, let me see. There's some writing below. I'll have to take a little look here. Okay, Purple Haze, previously unreleased recording. Let me find the next Purple Haze, see what it says. Gypsy Eyes, Fire, Sweet Angel, Bold as Love, The Wind Cries.
Sometimes it's just as simple as, they just added something to a track a little lower, a little higher.
Yeah, like this one right here, recorded live at the Olympic Theater, Paris, France, October 9th, 1967. Previously unreleased recording. Okay. Let me see. Hear My Train a Comin'. I love that song. He does that acoustically on a 12-string too. All Along the Watchtower. This was recorded live at the Isle of Wight, in England, August 30th, 1970. Johnny Be Good, recorded live at the Berkeley Community Theater. Freedom, let's see. Purple Haze again, okay. This is recorded live, San Diego Sports Arena, 1969.
I saw many concerts there. Well, no, I
you were in the Navy down there, right?
Yeah, I saw many, many concerts at San Diego Sports Arena. A lot of them. Zeppelin, you name them, I saw them there.
Yeah, so these are all like live recordings and things like that in here. And I really want to listen to this, but I haven't been able to bring myself to rip the shrink wrap off and expose the velvet cover to the elements.
Well, if you haven't done it in 21 years,
Yeah. Well, they're making these new now, and I'm actually no, without, but I'm tempted to buy one of those so I can listen to it and leave this up, But what sounds crazy, I know. 56 unreleased or unavailable recordings, 40-page full-color booklet, which I haven't even seen yet, filled with rare photographs. Each album pressed on 180-gram virgin vinyl, separate album jackets with art. Never before heard takes of your favorite Hendrix songs like Purple Haze, Hey Joe, and a stunning version of Lil Wing. I mean, I have to listen to this at some point, or I'll lose my mind. Okay, so Hendrix, an all-time favorite. I've got my original Hendrix Experience and a newer copy. The new ones are at Walmart. They're like $14. It's crazy. Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit of another Hendrix. I had this as a CD, and this is Jimi Hendrix Blues. These are all blues songs by Jimi Hendrix. Hold on, let me say, hey, Psycho Platter, how you doing, buddy? Nice looking Hendrix set. Yeah, I didn't notice that you were on yet. I was too busy talking. You're welcome to join us if you'd like to. Are you on Messenger where I can send you a link? Anyway, I'll keep talking. Let me know if you'd like to come on. We'll get a link to you. Okay, so Jimi Hendrix Blues includes Jimi Hendrix's version of Catfish Blues. There's some trippy songs on here. I mean, it's psychedelic. Born Under a Bad Sign, Bleeding Hard, and so many more. An expanded booklet filled with rare photos and comprehensive liner notes. So yeah, so this is I had this on CD. I bought it when it first came out in the 90s, and then I just recently found it here. And it's got all these blues greats on the back, And Jimi Hendrix played for all these R&B bands. He played for Little Richard. He played for Ike of Ike and Tina Turner fame. Ike fired him. Little Richard both fired him. Ike fired him, and they were I watched an interview on YouTube, and they said, "You fired Jimi Hendrix? Why did you fire Jimi Hendrix?" And Ike goes, "Well, he had all these pedals. He had that wah-wah pedal. He had that fuzz pedal. He had this pedal. He had that pedal. He spent more time messing with those pedals than he did playing the guitar. So I fired him." You should do a search for that. It's funny as hell. And then he goes on to say, when I started hearing about that Jimi Hendrix rock god, I didn't know it was the same Jimi Hendrix. It's funny. It's a funny interview. Anyway, so that's his blues. My favorite story is I saw a Hendrix. Wasn't called Hendrix tribute. It was called something like that, like Hendrix, a tribute to Hendrix, or something like that. But there was this a group of some of the best guitar players in the country, Joe Satriani, and all these people were traveling around together playing Hendrix songs. And it was fantastic. We saw them at the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara. And what happened was Ernie Isley, it was his turn for his band to play. And Ernie Isley's dad was one of the Isley brothers, a soul band. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy, he says, Jimi Hendrix lived with us when I was a little kid. He was in my dad's band, and he was giving me guitar lessons. And then Ernie Isley started playing. I swear to God, you closed your eyes. You thought you were listening to Jimi Hendrix, And Ernie Isley was great and taught by Hendrix too, Hendrix lived with him for 4 years when he played with the Isley. That's a long time. Hell of a teacher to have living in your house,
Really?
But that was great. And then after these bands all came out and did their own thing, then they were kind of coming out in groups and doing Hendrix songs. It was really a good concert. I got to see it twice because then they came to the Avila Beach Blues Festival, which is just 30 minutes away later on. And a little bit slightly different lineup, but I mean, Buddy Guy was there. I got to see him a couple of times. And just a great concert. I've got this is so my Jimi Hendrix Experience is the first studio album. This is actually the third studio album, Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland. And here's the original Jimi Hendrix Experience lineup here. And so anyway, this has got some amazing songs on it. And The Gods Made Love. Have You Ever Been to Electric Ladyland? Crosstown Traffic, Voodoo Child. Voodoo Child is a great Hendrix song. Little Miss Strange. Let's see what else. Gypsy Eyes. Rainy Day Dreaming Away. House Burning Down. All Along the Watchtower. One of my favorites. I love All Along the Watchtower. Hey Joe. Red House. I love all those songs. Anyway, so this is actually the third studio album. So there's one between those two. What the hell's the name of the one between those two? I was just looking at it. Let's see. It'll come to me. Access Bold as Love. That's the second studio album. And after that, there's a ton of stuff, and I've got a ton of stuff. This is just a fraction. I'm a huge Hendrix fan. So this was a recent acquisition. Walmart had their Black Friday sale about a month ago around Thanksgiving time. And this is Jimi Hendrix Experience Atlanta Pop Festival. And this is
the Atlanta Pop Festival.
Atlanta Pop Festival, not the Monterey Pop Festival,
Well, there was like a few of them that happened in '69. There was Woodstock, there was Atlanta, there was Dallas, Monterey, and a lot of the same bands played on that tour. And the Louisville Pop Festival was like 5 miles from my house right here.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, we went to the 50th anniversary in 2019. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow, that is great. I have an album that's from the Monterey Pop Festival, and one side is Jimi Hendrix, and the other side is Otis Redding. And I was a huge Otis Redding fan. I mean, there was a time when he might have been, Otis Redding and Marvin Gaye and the Temptations. I was a big soul music guy in like 67, 68. And Otis Redding might have been my favorite artist there for some time. But anyway, I like this album, this Jimi Hendrix Atlanta Pop Festival, and it actually is colored too. I got to pull that out. If I can find the opening, I'll pull it out. Okay, I played this already. It's kind of a white, light blue marbling in it, So that's cool. It played good. I played it. As soon as I brought it home. I played it, and there was a big warp in it. And I bought 2 or 3 of them at that same Black Friday event around Thanksgiving at Walmart. and every single one of them were warped. You know, I mean, to the
Uh-oh.
point that it'd make the needle actually skip, and I wound up taking them all back and getting all new ones, and they all played good. So that's another Hendrix I have. Now this one um, I found recently, and it's authorized by the Hendrix family, of course, and it's 2 album set Hendrix at Woodstock.
Hmm.
And I've got a painting. See that white fringe leather jacket
Yeah.
he's wearing? That's what he wore when he was at Woodstock. And a friend of mine painted me Jimmy Page playing the double neck Gibson, and that's hanging out on my entryway wall. And I told him I needed the Jimi Hendrix, and he sent me some pictures of some that he'd already done. And I said, no, 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 no. And I sent him some pictures of Jimmy wearing this white leather fringe jacket at Woodstock, and that's what he painted for me. You
Uh,
know, they're not numbered copies. I mean, they're actually originals that he did. So I've got that out in my entryway. But the only one I want to really unbox, I wanted to show those and talk about them. The only one I really want to unbox is this one, and that is Jimi Hendrix live in Maui. Jimi Hendrix was already on top of his game. He was like, the biggest thing going at the time. He did 2 concerts in Maui where 250 people showed up. Free concerts,
wow.
free concerts. And so this is actually, hey Bob, how you doing, buddy? Let me say hi to Bob too. So this is a 3 album set, Hendrix and Maui, and the beauty part about it, it comes with a. Well, I guess I got to pay attention to what I'm doing here. It comes with a Blu-ray DVD with both concerts on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, this is great. I wanted to open this one up and show it. Here's the gatefold. It's kind of a unique gatefold. Out in the middle of nowhere, they sell all this stuff. I must have been running it on generators and stuff. And this is pretty cool. I'm going to pull these out real quick because I don't know how many people have seen this live in Maui. And of course, we've got a nice booklet here. Nice booklet, big glossy pictures showing the concert. Kind of hard to do this. I'm all backwards all the time here. Okay, so Jimi Hendrix live in Maui. Let me see if there's any really cool picture close up or something. That's a side view. That's a pretty cool picture of him playing there. If I can get it just right. Always going against the grain on my little camera up there. Let's see, but I mean, it's just a bunch of young people sitting in fields and stuff, sitting on the grass, watching a free Hendrix concert in Maui.
Hmm.
And not that many people there. That's probably about as big as the crowd got.
First of all, they're lucky just to be on Maui.
They're lucky
to
just to be, that's exactly, yeah.
And then see Hendrix on top of it for free.
Yeah, but I mean, look at these. Look at the sleeves. These heavy duty cardboard sleeves that these albums are in, and they're not in color or anything, but the vinyl. But the songs, I mean, Hear My Train a Comin', Voodoo Child, Fire, Foxy Lady, In From the Storm, Hey Baby, Chuck Wine Introduction. Cool cover. Heavy covers too. This one's got one of my favorites, Purple Haze, Spanish Castle Magic, Lover Man, Message to Love, Dolly Dagger, Villanova Junction, and Easy Rider. And then this one has Red House, one of the best blues songs ever. Freedom, Jam Back at the House, Straight Ahead, Hey Baby, and Stone Free. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the Blu-ray DVD, or Blu-ray, yeah. the Blu-ray, and this says Music, Money, Madness, Jimi Hendrix. Let's see if I can turn this the right way. Music, Money, Madness, Jimi Hendrix. Both concerts right here, both Maui concerts. Oh, look, I got the download here. I didn't even notice that was in there. I've got 3 of these now. I need to get busy here. Download them. Okay, so that's the one I really wanted to show, because the whole story, the whole story about him playing these free concerts in Maui and stuff like that, and getting the Blu-ray with it and stuff like that to watch him is pretty cool stuff. And not too many people do something like that, when they're big stars, come out and do some free shows. That couldn't have been cheap to set all that up either, All right, so that's my Jimi Hendrix offering, boys and girls. And Dan, you got anything, or any Hendrix stories or trivia, or? Hey, there's my buddy Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Jeff in the house. Roger that 007, Caitlin. Oh, wow. What do we got going here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I think I had 2 microphones on. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. I thought it sounded like a band getting ready to play or something. I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Well, I've got 2 microphones, and I turned one off, and now you don't hear me. I mean, you didn't hear me. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
I was thinking, I was thinking Hendrix had played at the Texas Pop Festival, but he didn't.
Oh, okay.
Janis Joplin did. Santana, B.B. King, Johnny Winter, a whole bunch of others. Led Zeppelin.
Love them all. I mean, I've seen B.B. King. I never got to see Zeppelin or Hendrix. I'm really regretful for that. I don't know what happened,
Yeah, I saw Zeppelin in 1977 in San Diego Sports Arena.
Okay.
And I actually had to buy my tickets off a scalper. So I was saying, oh my God, you got to remember I was a sailor at the time, making like $400 a month. And so I found a scalper that sold at $25 a ticket. And to me, that was like $250 nowadays. I mean,
exactly.
But for $25, I got to see Zeppelin, and they actually they rescheduled it from March, I think it was, until June. And so we finally saw them in June. And I still remember one part of the concert where it was near 4th of July, so people had been buying fireworks.
Okay.
And, during the show, the arena had these pull-out seats out of the side of the arena, like bleachers, and you could actually get underneath them. Well, somebody was underneath the bleachers lighting sticks of firecrackers all around there. Then they got a little brave, and they lit a stick, and they threw it up on stage. Robert Plant stopped the concert, and he said, if that happens one more time, we're leaving. And everybody looked around. You better not.
They're gonna kill that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob's asking an interesting question here. How do we feel about all the profiting of dead artists like Hendrix, Joplin, Elvis, etc.? We talked about that recently.
Yeah.
Like there's this authorized Hendrix family edition of stuff, but I know that there's recently been a rift. There's some other woman who must have got some rights to it, a percentage of the rights. So there's 2 different people releasing what they're calling authorized Hendrix stuff now. And let me see, what was it? Elvis? Does somebody? The record label, I think, owns all Elvis's stuff, so nobody in the family gets anything. I think all the Priscilla and not Priscilla, the daughter, the one that married Michael Jackson.
Lisa Marie.
Lisa Marie, yeah. I think they got money from the tours of Graceland, but I don't think they got any money from the music. And I understand Lisa Marie was millions and millions of dollars in debt. And Priscilla sold a bunch of stuff, bunch of homes and stuff to buy her debt down, you know. So I don't know what happened to all of that, you know. But yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, you know, the music goes on. Somebody's gonna release it. Somebody's gonna make it. I don't know. I really don't know. What do you think, Dan? I mean, who should be? I guess it depends on what kind of deals were made while the people were still alive. Of course, Hendrix died such an untimely death, so young. Well, most people do, I guess. Um, that I'm sure they never thought twice about, you know, who would own the rights to all that stuff. And I think it took several years in court before the Hendrix family, or part of the Hendrix family, wrestled control of it. But like I was saying earlier, I'm noticing now there's some Hendrix stuff being released by someone else of the Hendrix family, not the authorized, you know, like most of this stuff will say, here's an example right here, Hendrix Live at Woodstock. And this is the label I'm used to seeing, the authorized Hendrix Family Edition. Okay. And that's what I usually see on these, but lately I've been noticing another woman's name and a different label. So it sounds like there's a couple of different people now with some rights to it. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, what's striking, Bruce Springsteen just sold all his stuff to I can't remember who, but 500 million, $500 million, Bruce Springsteen just sold the rights to all his music for. Now that shocked me. I didn't think anybody would. I mean, I could maybe see the Beatles music or something like that, but
Yeah.
I was really surprised to hear Bruce Springsteen got $500 million for the rights. So the artists now have figured this out, and they're all trying to profit off their music, you know, making far more just selling the rights off than they ever made selling their albums.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you're coming through great. You're coming through great.
Okay, I switched microphones. I figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as making profits off somebody, you know, that's no longer with us, you know, I personally know somebody that way. And to me, it's up to the estate, whatever the estate decides, whoever in charge, you know, that's
right.
You know, like, you know, the person I know, it's his girlfriend that's taking over everything. And because there's nobody left in his family. And so whatever, I don't agree with everything she does, but she has that right. And
right.
So and then you look at like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now,
yeah. What happened to his stuff?
Well, his mother had all the control, a lot of the control. Then when she passed away, Jimmy took over.
Okay.
Jimmy Vaughan took everything over.
Jimmy Vaughan, his brother, yeah.
Yeah.
What was his band? Tornadoes or something like that, or?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Actually, I thought he was in another one too. I thought he was in Fabulous Thunderbirds. I thought.
I mean, I think you're right. Yeah. Maria Day's saying when Rick Nelson died, his daughter had to fight to get control of all Rick's stuff. Well, that's interesting. I guess there's probably a lot of that goes on that we don't know about. People fighting over the rights to the music, you know.
Yeah, they're contesting the will or whatever.
Right.
You know, but you know, to me, if it's a legit will, and you know, you do what the deceased person wanted. If they wanted someone to have it, fine. But anybody that contest the will should be automatically kicked out. But you know,
right.
I've had to deal with a lot of that lately.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, I had a good friend, Ron, and lifelong motorcycle, Harley Davidson aficionado motorcycle rider, great rider too, but a little bit scary. He liked to hot rod around and stuff. But anyway, we went out to that Toys for Tot run at Christmas time, where everybody brings a toy, and we attended tri-tip barbecue and stuff like that. And on the way home, Ron got killed. I mean, like right before my eyes, you know. And he passed somebody in front of me and went around him like this. And as they hit the top of the hill, it took a sharp, you know, bend to the left. And Ron was leaning to the right as he was passing this other guy. And when I hit the top of the hill seconds later, the dust was so thick, it was like I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. I could have ran into anything, you know. And all of a sudden, the dust, started to clear a little bit, and he'd gotten off the road, kind of tried to fight his way back to the road, laid the bike down, hit the berm, and I mean at high speed too. He was going fast. Big old chunk of asphalt berm busted off, and it popped the bike up back onto the highway, and it went down the highway for a long ways with pieces coming off, And Dave and I were just completely freaked out over this whole. We couldn't even find him. At some point, him and the bike separated, and he rolled down an embankment and was pinned up against a barbed wire fence. And 3-4 days in the hospital, sending him to different places and that, and brain was bleeding and stuff. And his wife came in and turned off the life support because they said he was brain dead and keeping his organs alive at that point. But the only reason I mentioned this was because he had been married previously. He was happily married now with a little girl, that Ronnie, 9 years old, and his ex-wife showed up immediately and started demanding. He was a grading contractor. He'd grade my pads, put all my underground pipes in, come back and pave, when we're done, hook up all the utilities and stuff. And it was just a good dude. And his wife decided that all that expensive tractors and equipment and all that stuff belonged to their mutual daughters, and it turned into a great big mess. Ron had 2 airplanes. I had my pilot's license. He gave me the key to one of his planes. Said just keep the gas topped off. So I, instead of renting a plane for $60 an hour or whatever, I go up there and go flying and come back, top the tanks off. And he had another plane that he flew, so it was kind of like my plane, All that stuff. The lawyers came and got it, flew it down to another airport, locked it up, and she lost everything. I mean, she lost everything. He had 7 acres with a house on it and horses and shops and all kinds of Harleys and old panheads and different things, that stuff that he'd rebuild. He did all his work on his own equipment, the big diesel tractors and stuff too, hell of a mechanic. And Ron was a funny and a nice guy. But anyway, so I just brought that up because we were talking about, these lawsuits and stuff that take place, when someone dies in the music industry. It really happens all over the place,
It's like anybody, even if just because it's an asset, they have to make sure that somebody's in charge of it. And that's something I've learned in the past couple of years, and I went down and had all my stuff written out. And it's so much better because it's hard when somebody dies, how to get everything settled without a lot of cost. But if you plan ahead, there's really no cost except for what you pay the lawyer for the will and everything.
Yeah, and I did that 2 years ago.
And I specifically wrote in my will too, who I don't want to get anything from me.
Well, that's exactly right. And I'm not going to start throwing names out, but it probably doesn't take a lot of imagination to figure out who I excluded. And the funny thing is, she was excluded 20 years ago or more because of a lot of things,
because if you don't exclude people that you don't want, they may try to contest it, and you don't.
That's exactly right. In fact, we need to go back and make sure the language is even stronger than ever, we want to reiterate, that anyway. But let's see. So Bob said Stevie Ray Vaughan's brother was in the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
The Fabulous Thunderbirds. That's right.
They actually opened up for ZZ Top in 1981. And it was Fabulous Thunderbirds, ZZ Top, then the Rolling Stones at the Cotton Bowl.
Right.
I was at that one, and it was on Halloween, and it poured down rain when the Stones came out, and it didn't stop. It was perfectly fine for the Thunderbirds and the ZZ Top, but as soon as the Stones hit the stage, it just came down and would not stop. And being October 31st, it was a cold rain, and we weren't prepared for it. We froze, but we weren't leaving.
Right. Well, let's see. Maria Day. Okay. So Bob also made the statement that Bob Dylan sold the rights to his songs as well. So you're seeing a lot of people, it's a big money maker for a lot of these guys. I mean, again, I was shocked at half a billion for Bruce Springsteen stuff. Yeah. Not that I dislike Bruce Springsteen, but that's huge. I mean, that's freaking huge money. You know.
Well, it's a way to cash in. I mean, for him.
Yeah, might as well have it while you're alive, I guess.
Exactly. Why leave it to your heirs when you can enjoy the reap the profits now? And that's
Right.
what a lot of bands are doing that anyway. That
Yeah.
may not, they've kind of gone downhill over the years financially, but
Right.
there's a demand for a lot of those old
Yeah.
bands. They'll make up or whatever, get back together, and
Yeah.
they'll try to suck every bit of
Well,
money out of that.
a lot of these songs wind up in all kinds of things. It's like
Oh yeah.
pro football was using "Start Me Up" by the Stones for a long time throughout the games, and I mean these songs wind up everywhere. But I don't know how you recoup $500 million on some of these songs. I mean, maybe they will. I mean, maybe they'll double their money on it. Who the hell knows? Okay, so that was Jimi Hendrix. Of course, the next one for me is Led Zeppelin.
There we go.
What unboxing would be complete without Led Zeppelin? Okay, so again, I'm not going to start pulling all the albums out, but okay, so I've got Led Zeppelin 1, Led Zeppelin 2, Led Zeppelin 3. I have all, I think 9 of these studio albums, every one of them. I was so embarrassed when I did a Led Zeppelin unboxing that I only had 3 albums and then a 4 CD set, that I was obsessed with getting all of them after that happened, because I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan. But I had it all on like CDs,
Yeah.
I hadn't bought all these albums yet. Led Zeppelin 4, and I want to let everybody know that I got this from The Wizard's Lair.
Oh, cool.
Pat Lucero, The Wizard's Lair. Thank you, Pat, if you're listening. That's 4. It's not named 4, but it is 4. And then Houses of the Holy, also from The Wizard's Lair, Pat Lucero. The Thee, if you're listening, Pat. And he says, be careful with this band here. The belt is called, I can't read his writing. It's a Sharpie, and it's kind of all blurred together. It's a Obi strip or something like that, and it slides off, but be careful. Obi strip. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's that white strip across the.
Pat is real careful about, even the shrink wrap with little labels on it. I don't care if it's a Walmart, or whatever it is. He wants you to save everything. So I started taking the shrink wrap off and just sliding it in the new cover that I put on the back, and just, I don't know why, and then I have Physical Graffiti, and that's great. And you know what? I mean, I got to ask everybody, what is your favorite Led Zeppelin album? This was asked the other day on this Led Zeppelin Facebook site. What is your favorite album? Well, let me tell you something funny. I was in I was a junior in high school when Led Zeppelin 2 came out. Well, it came out the same year as Led Zeppelin 1, 68 or 9. And a lot of people didn't even know about Led Zeppelin 1 because there were no singles. You bought the album. So your top 40, Kino, the top 40 station in Vegas, wasn't playing any of the songs. There were no singles. So when Led Zeppelin 2, people were like, there's a Led Zeppelin 1? How come nobody told me, And everybody loved Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. And the hardcore Zeppelin fans think Led Zeppelin 1's the only album they ever made, I mean, they weren't crazy about Whole Lotta Love, which played in every jukebox all day long, big hit. It was their single. And but what a lot of people don't know, unless you were there and seeing this firsthand, is when Led Zeppelin 3, and I can't help myself, I have to say this, because I lost to Ashley Alexander when I was explaining the history of Led Zeppelin with the New Yardbirds, which was the Led Zeppelin lineup. They branded themselves the New Yardbirds before they took the name Led Zeppelin to fill some Yardbirds tours in Scandinavia. Anyway, I had what I thought was a great story about how Led Zeppelin started with an album that's really, really rare. And Ashley pulls out Led Zeppelin 3. And of course he wins because he's Ashley and he's popular and everybody loves him. Anyway, so, but what a lot of people didn't realize was Led Zeppelin 3 was when it came out, your hardcore Led Zeppelin fans loved Led Zeppelin 1 over 2. And when 3 came out, I didn't have a single friend that liked it, and they were all Led Zeppelin fans. I just rushed out as Led Zeppelin. I rushed out and bought the 8-track, and I listened to it so much I learned to like it. But it wasn't popular at all. Well, of course, over time, I mean, that was like 40 years ago. Over time, with Zeppelin band had been broke up for years. One of the members dead. People are buying anything Zeppelin. I mean, there wasn't a lot of good footage about Zeppelin playing. It was all kind of grainy. And later generations discovered Led Zeppelin. They bought everything. They bought it all. And 3 wound up being, I think, 7 times platinum. So you can't argue with it, But at the time that it came out, nobody liked it. Anyway, I had to throw that in only because I lost it unboxing. So this is Physical Graffiti, and this is a good album here. Led Zeppelin. The thing I like about Led Zeppelin 4, of course, is you've got well, I'd have to open up, but Stairway to Heaven's on here, and that I loved Led Zeppelin 1 and I loved Led Zeppelin 2. But I love Stairway to Heaven, and that is my favorite song. So I would have a hard time between 1, 2, and 4. I don't know if I could pick a favorite. How does the chat feel? Could you pick? What would you pick as your favorite Led Zeppelin album? 1, 2, 4, or something else?
Well, for me, it was the 4th album, Zoso. Zoso is actually the name of the album.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So 4 was my favorite one until Physical Graffiti came out.
Okay.
Physical Graffiti became they kind of, that's why a lot of bands. I'd always have my favorite till the next one came out. Then it would be better.
Right. Right.
But Zeppelin 4 was really first Zeppelin album I got into. And then I saw them in concert. I think it was the Presence album.
Oh yeah.
It just came out.
Yeah, no, I was gonna show that next, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. Go ahead. Whatever you're saying, it's cool.
Well,
look at here. You got Caitlin saying Led Zeppelin 2, and I was a big fan of Led Zeppelin 2. Jeff Davidson saying Physical Graffiti. Maria Day loves them all. It's hard for me to pick, and that's where I'm at right now. I have a hard time picking a favorite right now. Bob says he had tickets for Led Zeppelin's upcoming concert in Chicago when John Bonham died. God, what a bummer.
Yeah, he died in September of '80, I believe.
Wow. Keith Richards and Patty Hansen have been married for 37 years. Wow.
In fact, right after I saw Zeppelin in '77, I can't remember how long after that was, but that's when Robert Plant's son passed away.
Oh, wow.
And they had suspended the tours and everything until, later dates.
What's going on? Does anybody know what's going on? I keep hearing things about Eric Clapton's drop in popularity. And when I go back and look at his unboxing, and it was like 6 months ago, there's probably like 130 views, and that kind of surprised me because Clapton was huge. I mean, he was a huge part of my music, background. And, in fact, I just picked up a few weeks ago. I've been looking for a used copy for a long time. Derek and the Dominoes.
Oh yeah.
Layla, Bell Bottom Blues, all about Patty Boyd, George Harrison's wife, who I think wound up being Eric Clapton's wife as well.
That's
at some point. Yeah. But he was in love with her when she was married to George. But George was out catting around, sleeping around and stuff like that. So it wasn't like, anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say about that, but it wasn't like he was a devoted husband or anything when Eric fell in love with his wife. He was never home. That was somebody else. Okay, so Robert Plant and Alison Krauss have a new album. Yes, they do. And I've seen it. It's at Walmart, and I've seen it all over, the internet for sale at the different sites. And I played a song the other day driving. I just played it on my phone for Betty and I, and we weren't crazy about that particular song that we heard. But anyway, but I'd like to hear more because she's got a great voice and he's got a great voice. He's an icon. So I need to check that. I'm going to listen to the whole album on maybe on YouTube or something. But Bob says claims of racism with Eric Clapton. Yeah, I think I heard that. Plus, he's like a huge no vaxxer when it comes to the COVID vaccine too, and there's been some criticism about that too. But there was a time when Eric Clapton, I mean, they were painting Clapton as God on the walls of buildings in England. I mean, he was very, very popular. So I was surprised that his show kind of bombed. But who knows? Maybe it was the host. I heard he's against the COVID shots. Yeah, Maria Day, that's right. He's against the COVID shots. And in fact, I just read something else today about that. But things keep coming up. He just keeps doubling on that.
Well, did you watch the video that he put out about that? But explaining his point of view on that?
No.
No, he's saying, if you want to get a shot, get it. He's not anti-vax. He got the shot and got really bad sick. And he was speaking from his own personal dealings with it. He's not.
Okay.
No. At least that's what he's saying on video.
Okay.
Whether it's truth or not.
But sometimes things do get twisted like that. It's all gotten so political,
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of believe him. He just had a bad reaction to it, and he doesn't recommend any of his family to get it. But if they want to get it, he's not stopping them. But he just had a bad reaction to it.
Well, Betty and I, neither one of us wanted to get the shot. I stopped getting flu shots years ago, and my mother had really bad dementia and Alzheimer's, and she lived with us 5 years, and until it got to the point where she didn't even know us, and we couldn't. It was getting too hard to take care of her, and she lived for another 5 years in a nursing home, but she didn't even know who we were at that point. But when I heard that the heavy metals of the flu shot can cause dementia. My last flu shot, whether it's true or not, I don't even want to wait to find out. That's all I needed to know. And it's Mike Usnick from the Pink Sock Pod. You call it the Pink Sock Podcast? That's the name of the show?
It's Pink Sock Podcast, but all I heard was heavy metals and what like is Judas Priest in these vaccines?
Shit. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Well, we were basically talking about a group of bands and artists that were game changers. They changed the whole game for everybody. Most people. We started with Elvis Presley. Everybody knows that was a game changer. Then the Beatles, a big part of the British invasion, and they wound up being the biggest band for the longest time. Then the Stones were right on their heels. Don't get me wrong. And Eric Burdon and the Animals, who I love. There was a bunch of them, but the Beatles came out. They were pretty much riding on top for a long time. Then I opened a bunch of Hendrix stuff, and then we're kind of halfway through Led Zeppelin right now.
There's one you missed. Okay. Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Yes.
That is a game changer. That is the
Black
first.
Sabbath is a game changer. I saw them in concert in, I think, 70 at the Las Vegas Convention Center. I love Black Sabbath.
They're the first metal band.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were a game changer. You're absolutely right. All those distorted power chords had a lot to do with Tommy Iommi losing the tips of his fingers and having to play differently. How did they? How did that happen? Was that a knife or something?
From my understanding, he was working at a plant and he ended up cutting his fingers off in the plant.
Yeah.
Right.
But believe it or not, let's see if you can guess this trivia question. Who is the first band that had the first ever thrash metal song?
Okay, give me a minute.
Thrash metal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez.
Neil Young?
Nope. It's a band that you might not have guessed.
Okay. A band that I might not have guessed. And then, I figured it had to be a band we wouldn't come right to mind.
1974. It was the year the song was released.
1974.
Mm-hmm. Which was a year before the thrash metal invasion. So.
Okay. Boy, that's a really...
No, that's 10 years before the thrash metal invasion because that wasn't until 84. Yeah, that'd be 10 years. Let's see if you can guess.
Yeah, no, I'm trying. 74.
I'll give you a hint. Let's see if Dan can guess this, because if I give this hint, he might. Metallica covered the song several times live, and it was even on one of their albums.
I'm trying to think of their covers.
It was, I believe it was on one of their Garage Days releases, Garage Inc. or Garage Days.
I'm drawing a blank.
Queen, Stone Cold Crazy.
No, Queen?
Yeah.
Wow.
Their song Stone Cold Crazy is considered a thrash metal song because of the guitar riff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you know that riff was Black Sabbath had that riff earlier.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But for what song was that?
Yeah.
I think that was on Sabotage, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Hey, Jeff Davidson had a really good guess here. He said the Osmonds.
The Beatles.
That was the Thrash Mormons.
Yeah. And Bob says he was a fan of Steppenwolf, who he saw in concert in 1971. I've seen Steppenwolf too.
Symptom of the Universe. Symptom of the Universe.
Oh yeah,
Steppenwolf. And Alvin Lee 10 years after. Alvin Lee's great. I love Alvin Lee and Steppenwolf.
Arguably, the Beatles made the first grunge song with Helter Skelter.
That's true.
Okay.
I
don't know. You know, Neil Young was in there with the Cinnamon Girl and stuff too. Da 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 da. You know, Osmond. Caitlin's laughing about the Osmonds.
The Osmonds. Remember that Pepsi Twist commercial with Ozzy?
Oh yeah.
When he's like shuffling, and the Jack and his daughter Kelly was like, "These aren't Pepsis, these are Pepsi Twists, and we're not the Osbournes, we're the Osmonds." Another band that was a game changer in the 90s was Pantera.
Oh yeah, well, they saved metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Pantera too. I thought they were good.
They weren't they the first ever groove metal band?
I don't know.
I think they call it Power Groove.
Power Groove?
Power Groove, yeah.
Yeah, Dan was really close to Dimebag and, you know, organized a Dimebag Ride for Dime and everything like that for years. So I defer to Dan on any of this stuff.
I knew Daryl and Vinny for off and on about 20 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys are all good friends. See a lot of pictures of you and stuff with them.
Yeah.
Didn't you sing backup on something, one of their songs?
No, that was Aska.
Oh, okay. Couldn't remember which.
Only album I've ever been on.
Come on, Dan. You need to make your own band. Come on.
In fact, my wife was on that album too. We both. It was a shouting. It was a shouting part of the song, and we both did it.
Osmonds really did have a heavy metal song called "Crazy Horses."
Okay, go ahead.
We should listen to that sometime. "Crazy Horses" by the Osmonds.
Yeah, okay.
Ozzy should cover that live. Let's get crazy, and instead he does "Crazy Horses." But what were you going to say, Royce?
Oh no, nothing. Let me just button up my Led Zeppelin unboxing. Okay, I'm not really unboxing. I'm just showing. I've got too much of this stuff. I've got all the Zeppelin studio albums.
I wasn't sure what we were doing, so I just jumped on here to say hi and hang out.
No. It's all good. No. It's fun. Anyway, okay. Then I have Coda, and then I have one more that is not a studio album. We were just. What do you have a favorite Led Zeppelin album or no?
I just listen to Led Zeppelin music. I haven't really listened to their albums from beginning to end, all of them. I just listen to their songs.
Yeah,
I tell you, the best Zeppelin album to kind of give you a concert feeling is "The Song Remains the Same." That album. Oh, but that's actually from their movie.
You're not talking about my 4-album set, are you?
There you go.
Four album set. Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, watch the movie.
I'm not going to pull all this out, but
The movie will trip you out.
it's got the little velvet, thing. Yeah. And then it's got a nice the movie. Okay, I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, tear a couple of pages. Let's see if there's anything I can just.
Since you like Led Zeppelin, and we all love Led Zeppelin, what do you guys think of Greta Van Fleet?
They're good imitators.
Right? Their latest album sounds like Led Zeppelin.
I see their albums out there, but I have to be honest with you, I've never really listened. I mean, what do you think?
Their first song they released was very Led Zeppelin-y. Their album they released recently sounds like Robert Plant singing for Rush. That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
They're young kids, right? They're just young kids.
When I went and saw them at Rock on the Range, the singer had to have been like 17, maybe.
Oh.
So they're young.
I got underwear older than that,
Are you wearing them right now?
Yeah, I'm wearing them right now. Yeah, not yours, mine. Oh my God!
That reminds me of an old Navy joke. When I was in the Navy, we'd be out to sea for weeks at a time, and we only had so much fresh water on board. So, after a while, you just stop doing laundry. We're coming back. We're coming back into San Diego, and we're all standing on the front of the ship, and our chief is telling us, "Look, we got to at least change our underwear today." You change with him. You change with him. You change with him.
That's funny. That's really funny.
You guys just trade underwear. Musical underwears.
I'll be right back. I got my tablet about to go dead here. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mike. I try to pop in whenever I can. I mean, your hours change kind of week to week, don't they?
No, they're the same.
I'm usually like 8 to 4:30 out on the construction site, but sometimes I'll turn my phone on. I'll set it up somewhere and just let it, play.
No,
and,
Pink's
yeah,
podcast.
You had a fun one on Star Wars the other day.
I loved it. It was fun.
That was fun. Yeah.
Pink Sock Podcast is live every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. But that was really fun. It was Eric 13. He's the guitarist of the band Combi Christ.
Okay.
They are an industrial.
Before, I think.
Yeah, he was on there. Yeah. He was on there once before. We plan on bringing him on.
The other guy, Gorik's his name.
Gorak.
Yeah. Now, is he in a band as well?
No, he plays guitar. He does covers on Instagram. He is my co-host. We both host kind of together. He's on Instagram, Gorak_1985. He does Sabbath covers and stuff. And he's also on Death Comes Lifting's podcast. They do Sabbath Sunday, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath Sunday or something like that is what it's called. And they just cover Black Sabbath every Sunday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, Bill K just joined the show. Thank you very much, Bill. We appreciate you stopping in and saying hi. We've been unboxing bands that were game changers, in the music. And it's everybody's going to have different opinions. It's hard not to agree on Elvis Presley, hard not to agree on the Beatles. And I think Hendrix and Led Zeppelin the same way. They've always been my 1 and 2. And the one I was going to bring up next is an English band formed in '64. They had their earlier followers liked them because they're one of the first psychedelic groups. They distinguished themselves by extended compositions, sonic experimentations, and we're talking about, of course, Pink Floyd. And
they experimented with more than just music.
Now, do people agree about them being game changers as well in music?
Well, yeah, they're one of the first psychedelic rock bands.
Well, that's right. One of the first, and they distinguished themselves by being that way, and had a big following because of it. Adam D, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Uncle Royce. Thank you.
And they're one of the.
That's a new show name, Uncle Royce. I'm gonna go with it, Adam. Thank you.
But Pink Floyd was one of the few bands out there that changed vocalists, and they still was as big, if not bigger, than they was before they changed. And the guy that left,
that's unusual. Imagine the Doors doing that, even though they tried to.
They did.
Yeah, no, they did, but I mean, I can't think of the names of any of the songs they did, or I don't remember them doing another album that was a hit or anything.
Didn't they release an album? They released one that was without Jim
No,
Morrison.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, no, without, yeah.
And then they released another one, but it was Jim Morrison reading poetry, I think. They had like recordings of him reading poetry, and they did Doors instrumentals, I think.
They tried to make a go of it. I mean, Journey made it work. Journey made it work. AC/DC made it work, right? I mean,
I would love to have heard at least one song with Axl Rose singing.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear it? Did you hear him on that tour? Like any videos or anything?
No, I didn't.
That's literally the best he sounded in like 15 years. And he wasn't even in his band.
That's funny. That really is funny.
But yeah, he did really good. Hey Dan, you muted yourself.
Yeah, I forgot. That's like with Drowning Pool. Drowning Pool was at the top of the charts, and then Dave Williams passed away while they were on tour. Mm-hmm. And of course, they take a little hiatus for a while, then they come back with another singer. There was a little spike there where they're popular for a while, and they just dropped out again. The singer, he was actually a homeless guy they found in L.A. and had a good voice, but he still wanted to be homeless, I guess. So now they've got another singer, but they're never quite. They're kind of just a local band here in Dallas now. They just, all the guys have regular jobs, and
right.
They if Dave would stayed alive, there's no telling where that band would have gone. So some singers are just irreplaceable.
Right.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I'm trying to think of who was in Drowning Pool for a short amount of time. The singer of Soil sung for Drowning Pool for a short amount of time. Yeah, he was. I think it came out after Dave, but he wasn't there long enough. And then the guy you were referring to joined.
Yeah, I keep forgetting his name. I actually hung out with him several times.
There's Ryan McCombs, then there's Jason Jones, and then Dave Williams.
Huh.
They've had 4 vocalists, including the current guy.
Well, it was after Dave. The first one is on this Step Up album.
That would be Jason Jones.
Jason Jones, okay. I think he had a nickname that we called him by, Gorgo or something like that.
He was actually Ryan was in the band for a long time. I didn't realize that. He was in the band from 2005 to 2011.
Yeah, they played. We had him at Ride for Dime, 2013, I believe it was.
That would have been with the current vocalist.
Yeah,
Jason Marino.
Well, and the drummer Mike Lucci. I actually worked with him at a barbecue place down in Deep Ellum here in Dallas.
That's badass.
He was the bartender. We was helping a buddy get his barbecue business up and running, so we volunteered to work there for a while. And I was back cutting the brisket up while Mike was serving drinks out front.
That's pretty cool.
Hey, Bob just brought up a good point. I didn't think of this. None of us thought of this one. But Van Halen made it work with changing singers.
3 times.
Yeah.
But all due respect, though, the singers that they got was already established singers before they joined the band.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
Because you had like every singer they've had was already established. It's easier to do, I think, if you get a singer that's already established than somebody off the street like AC/DC did.
Right. Okay.
Like it's harder that way because an already established singer, people's like, oh yeah, I can hear that. If it's somebody off the street, they're like, we don't know what he's capable of. You know what I mean?
Now look what Journey did.
Yeah.
Journey got somewhere that sounds exactly like Steve Perry.
Right.
Isn't he Filipino?
Yeah.
Filipino, and he sounds just like Steve Perry.
That's a double-edged sword, though.
Yeah.
Because, like with Sabbath, the reason why they worked without Ozzy, like mainstream, is because it wasn't an Ozzy impersonator.
Yeah.
Right.
It was something completely different.
Dio. Yeah.
Dio. They had Dio, Tony Martin, Glenn Hughes, I believe, was in Sabbath for an amount of time. Who else was in Sabbath? Had like 5 different singers.
I'll say I didn't know that.
The one that doesn't get enough credit is Tony Martin. He was in the band longer than Dio, and he doesn't get enough credit when it comes to Sabbath singers. If you listen to any of Tony era music, wasn't mainstream popular, but damn good albums.
Okay.
You know, to be honest, I quit listening to Sabbath about that time. I listened during the Dio era. I listened to them then, but after that, I just kind of quit listening to Black Sabbath. It just wasn't the same anymore.
If you get a chance, if you really want to give it a chance, listen to Headless Cross. That's a Tony Martin album. It is incredible. It's not like Sabbath, like Ozzy Sabbath. It's not really Dio Sabbath. He has a similar vocal range, but it's still not the same.
Yeah.
Now, who is this?
Black Sabbath.
No. But who is the singer?
Tony Martin.
Tony Martin.
Cozy Powell was the drummer during that era.
You know, another band that lost their singer, well, didn't really lose him. He was actually fired. No, that's right. He quit from the band Boston.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Brad Delp was a singer for years. Then on the 4th album, he was gone. And they brought in Fran Cosmo. And I actually know Fran Cosmo. And, you know, but then after Brad came back. Then you had 2 singers in Boston. You know, and then I think Brad left again.
He died.
No, he died. That's right. He died. And then Fran left. And now they brought in this other guy, DiCarlo. He sounds exactly like Brad Delp.
You know how they found him?
Did they place a one ad someplace or something? Or
from what I've heard, when Brad died, they were just going to hang it up.
Yeah.
And then they found this guy singing Boston karaoke on like MySpace or Facebook.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And they're like, this guy sounds really good. So they hired him and continued on. And they released an album. They were working on an album with Brad around the time of his death. And instead of just throwing it away, they released the tracks that Brad originally sung on with Brad singing, and then did the rest of the album with the new singer.
Yeah, Tommy DiCarlo. And you know, and I don't know if they still list him as the current singer, but Boston isn't doing anything anymore.
No.
And Tommy DiCarlo's got his own band called DiCarlo. It's like his daughter, his son, his niece. It's a bunch of kids and him. And you know, with a voice like that, I think I would be promoting the hell out of that.
Right.
He's playing at little nickel and dime clubs. It's like, I don't get it, man. You're the singer for Boston. Promote that.
I got to see Boston live with him, and the opening act was Red Beach. I don't know if you're familiar with who that is. Red Beach is the guitarist for I'm drawing a blank. She's only 17. Winger.
Oh yeah.
He's the guitarist for Winger. They opened and they did like Winger covers and stuff. But Boston was amazing. You couldn't even tell it wasn't Brad singing. Like it was awesome.
Wow. That's great.
Out of the original Boston, there's only one original member. That's
right.
Tom Scholes.
Yep.
That's it.
And I tried interviewing him, and he does no media.
No, he's a hermit when it comes to that. He doesn't talk to anybody.
He's as hard to get as Ozzy Osbourne.
Jeff Davidson brought up Whitesnake.
Oh, they did a good job. They've had several different members. Yeah. Another one's Thin Lizzy.
Lizzy. Okay.
Thin Lizzy, great band, but I don't even know if they have any original members. Here's one we didn't mention, and they're kind of a game-changing band when it comes to shock rock.
Okay.
Gwar.
I never.
G-U-A-R.
G-W-A-R.
Oh, G-W-A-R. I've
never listened to them.
The reason why they're game-changing is because, yes, you had Alice cutting his own head off and stuff, but these guys would come out with, like, fake people and, like, cut their faces off and, like, crazy shit like that. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And they're actually a species of aliens that came to Earth to create the ultimate race, but they ended up having sex with apes and created us. And the gods decided to punish them by freezing them in Antarctica. During the hair metal movement in the 80s, they got defawed. And instead of killing this guy that found them, he became their manager, and now they're trying to kill all of the humans on Earth. This band has no original members, by the way.
Did they get dismembered?
Yeah. Well, the thing is they're one of those bands that can get away with it. Like, they've been on mainstream media. They've not been played on the radio, but they've been interviewed on Fox News. They've been interviewed on all these stations. They kill presidents on stage, like fake like images of them and stuff, and they've never gotten in trouble for it. They've never gotten in trouble for it. Yeah, like, it's crazy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, and
Wow.
like, wow.
Yeah, wow, right.
Well, the reason why they've never gotten in trouble for it is because they've been asked to apologize, and they're like, "Nope, we're aliens. We're not even people. We're not even people." I'm surprised you haven't heard of War, Dan.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, no,
I've just never listened to them. You know, here's
yeah.
my way of thinking now. When I see a band and, you know, they got their logo, if I can't read the logo, I'm not listening to the band.
Their logo's easy to read. Come on now.
all that jagged shit. What does it say?
I saw this meme. It shows like a bundle of sticks, and it says, "What band is this?" It's mostly black metal bands that do that, though.
Yeah,
like crazy.
You know, I use fonts that I can read. Those like, what the hell is that? It's kind of like those things when, you know, when you're getting on a secure website and I am not a robot. What the hell is that?
You know what I want to do? I want to start a band and our name being Comic Sans. All those little pictures. Oh, shit. So, game-changing bands, are we going with any genre?
Yeah, I don't care at this point. You know, we've covered Elvis through a little bit of Pink Floyd. I wasn't a big fan of either of these bands, The Clash or Sonic Youth, but they were listed as game-changing bands as well. What do you guys think?
I think they're game changers for the genre of music. They're in punk, wasn't it?
The genre of music, right?
Yeah. But you listed, when it comes to game changers, when it comes to rock music, I'm going to get crucified for this, but fuck it. When it comes to game changers, I wouldn't necessarily put Elvis as the king of rock because Chuck Berry exists. Chuck Berry was releasing rock music 10 years before Elvis hit the scene. So if I was to put anybody as a game changer,
that's a really interesting point.
The only reason, and I'm not even claiming racism for this because it's true for the era, the reason why Chuck didn't get as much fame as Elvis is because he was an African-American musician. He was gyrating his pelvis back then before Elvis was. He was doing the duck walk 30 years before Angus Young hit the scene. So if we're going to do game changers, we got to put Chuck Berry up there.
And the thing with Elvis, too, a lot of people thought Elvis was black.
Yeah.
You know, because he was singing the black type music.
And in the words of Frank Zappa, the man was not a songwriter. He stole music from black artists.
That's true.
The song Hound Dog, he put himself as a songwriting credit, but that was Big Mama Thornton.
You know, Mike, I'm kind of glad you said that because I was thinking the very same thing, you know, about Chuck Berry. In fact, I would say the reason I went crazy over rock and roll was because of Chuck Berry. In fact, I bought this yesterday. 28 Chuck Berry hits yesterday. Cost me a whole $16, you know. But I mean, there's a song on here that cemented my love for rock and roll as a little kid, and that is No Particular Place to Go, you know. Riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. You know, and I fell in love with that song. I'll never forget one of my older neighbors came over and goes, "So what kind of music do you like, Royce?" And I go, "Rock and roll." He goes, "Really? Well, who do you like?" And I go, "Chuck Berry," you know. And I was, I don't know, 8 years old or something like that, you know, walking around with one of those little pocket transistor radios with the one earplug, you know. That's all they had, you know, get one station. But anyway, it was Chuck Berry, you know, and it was like, yeah, and I mean, people have been copying him. I mean, all the way through Keith Richards, you know.
Yeah, Angus Young of AC/DC.
AC/DC, yeah.
Right. But this is great. I mean, Maybelline, Brown-Eyed Handsome Man, Roll Over Beethoven. I mean, give me a break here. Rock and roll music, Rockin' Anna Reelin', Sweet Little 16, Johnny Be Good. I'm skipping here, but
Nobody
Carol,
back then was playing guitar like he did on Johnny B. Good.
nobody back then. And that was, yeah, Memphis, Sweet Little Rock and Roller, Little Queenie. Bye Bye Johnny, Come On, Nadine and Carol both. No Particular Place to Go, the song that, just I went crazy over as a little kid, But you're right. I'm glad you said that, because when I found this yesterday in a antique store in Cayucas, California, all those same things, all those thoughts went through my head that,
Yeah, the real king of rock and roll right there.
Right there. And there were some others too that were great, that a lot of the other later bands covered,
And what's sad is the other bands was more popular than who they took from.
Yeah, this is a 2-album set. I just cleaned it up yesterday. There's no scratches or marks on it.
If you want to know,
also found this Lou Rawls at the same time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, that's a great album too, and that one was $10.
When it comes to Chuck Berry, a lot of people say Elvis's controversial hips and shit. What about Chuck Berry on television singing "My Ding-a-ling, My Ding-a-ling"?
Right. But you're right. I'm glad you said that because
Another innovative band is, I believe their name's Sugar Hill Gang. They wrote the first ever rap song.
Yeah.
Rapper's Delight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I actually liked quite a bit of rap, when they were out. I saw Snoop Dogg in concert out here at the Pozo Saloon out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of, all these cattle ranches. Snoop Dogg shows up. It wasn't like some 50 Cent video that he's doing or anything like that. I mean, he came out with a wife beater on and just did hardcore rap, and everybody, you couldn't believe his eyes because we're in Pozo. There's like a post office and 2 houses, and then it's surrounded by cattle ranches. Willie Nelson and friends came out there every year, and Waylon Jennings and different country bands and stuff. And Snoop Dogg shows up. We all got drunk and we're all out there in a motorhome together. And there's some funny stories about that show.
Snoop Dogg's a game changer too, not only in rap but in the cannabis industry. That dude was one of the first open stoners in rap music.
Right.
Like he didn't care.
No, he didn't care. That's right.
He didn't. I say a hip.
Bill K in the chat is saying renowned songwriters like Bruce Springsteen, guitar legends like Jimi Hendrix, and even hardcore rock gods like AC/DC were all heavily influenced by the music of Chuck Berry. Absolutely, Bill. Absolutely correct.
And what's really sad is if you ask anyone who is the best guitarist in history, Chuck Berry is very rarely in the top 10.
Right.
Very rarely. And it's
sad. He was Keith Richards' hero when he finally got to tour with him. But from what I understand, he was kind of hard on Keith, really
Chuck Berry knocked Keith Richards out. Did you ever hear that story?
No, I never did.
Keith was like, he walked into Chuck Berry, I think his dressing room. He saw his guitar sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, it won't hit." So he went up and picked up Chuck's guitar and started playing on it. Fucking Chuck him out. He was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And knocked him out for touching his guitar. Another game changer, Les Paul.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Inventor of the Les Paul. Yeah.
Built his first guitar when he was 7 years old.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
Built his first guitar when he was 7, started playing when he was 6.
Hey.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Crazy shit.
I listened to him and Mary Ford, play some songs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he's had a kind of a trippy style,
He was touring up until he died at the age of, I think, 96.
He sounds pretty psychedelic when he's playing his Les Paul.
Right? Oh, yeah. The movie Wedding Singer has the song Rapper's Delight in it.
Yeah.
Where that old lady is like, hip hop, the hippie to the hippie. And last time I looked, that old lady's still alive.
Well, Bill K's got the lyrics in the chat room there.
I saw that.
The hip hop, the hippie.
Another game changer is Slayer. When it comes to like not just thrash, but like evil thrash.
Evil
like
thrash.
They did like a darker side of thrash. Like
thrash wasn't enough. They had to take it evil, did they?
Well, Slayer had kind of like the darker side of life lyrics. When you had other thrash bands like Megadeth, Metallica, even Anthrax and stuff that had more of the like uppity stuff.
Yeah.
Or like they sung about war and stuff, but not like dark shit. They used very dark imagery, and Slayer was kind of a more popular Venom in a way. Like they combined the aspects of black metal, but made it thrash.
Okay.
And that's what made them innovative.
Right.
And fun note, Megadeth founder Dave Mustaine might have been the original guitarist of Metallica, but Dave Mustaine is actually connected to all of the big four because Slayer's guitarist was in Megadeth for 2 days. Which he said in an interview is because he couldn't stand Dave, so he left.
Oh, is that
right?
Yeah. Dimebag Darrell was almost in Megadeth too.
Yeah, but they wouldn't hire Vinny too.
Yeah, they wouldn't hire Vinny, so they said no deal.
Yep. Could you imagine fucking Megadeth with Vinny and Dimebag? We probably would have ended up with Megadeth's album Vulgar Display of Power. Respect walk.
Yeah, Dave Mustaine's not same. I don't know. I would say the same mental attitude as Dimebag and Vinny. They just different,
right? It would.
I don't think it would have lasted long at all.
Yep, Lamb of God.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with Bill K's knowledge here. You know,
a funny note about Lamb of God. The vocalist hates that style of music. He was actually a punk rocker. And one day he was hanging out with his friends and says, I don't understand that Cookie Monster stuff. And he started doing the vocal style. I'm like, you'd be more famous in that style. So he went ahead and went that route.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he was originally a punk rock guy.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. Lamb of God frontman Randy Blythe, who came up in the punk scene, has said Rain and Blood was the first metal album he liked. Cut and paste works, Royce. Okay.
That's just, I'm trying to think of other innovators that doesn't, because I'm trying to go the other route where you guys are doing like the mainstream ones. I'm trying to
Yeah. This is interesting, yeah, because I was
Blue Share.
Who?
Blue Share. They're the first ever metal band that isn't Black Sabbath. They only released one metal song, and it was the cover of Summertime Blues.
Oh. Ain't No Cure for the Summertime. Who sang that the first time? I know Alvin Lee did it 10 years after too, but he wasn't. It goes. I think it dates back to the early '60s.
I can look it up real quick for you. Summertime Blues, because I know Blue Share made it really popular, but that was their only big hit, was a cover. It was originally a rockabilly tune, co-written and recorded by Eddie Cochran.
Okay, yeah. I knew I'd recognize the name.
1958.
Oh, 58.
1958 was when that was released.
Right. Mm-hmm. It just goes to show you there was some good rock and roll back in the 50s.
Another game changer, the Yardbirds. Alice Cooper cited them as his favorite band. Yeah,
no, I love the Yardbirds.
They've also had some of the most biggest names in rock in and out of that band.
Clapton, Page, and Beck.
Yep, Clapton, Page, Beck.
And Beck and Page at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Alice said he went and saw Beck when he was in the Yardbirds, and he said that he amazed him because I can't find footage of this, but Jeff Beck held out his guitar and he dropped it, and he was playing a solo while he was dropping it, and then caught it at the top of the neck. And that's really impressive for back then.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Another really good one that's innovative is what's his name? Guy. Sorry, I'm drawing blanks tonight.
Buddy Guy
Yeah. Was innovative. He actually is cited as one of Jimi Hendrix's.
No. Jimi Hendrix was quoted saying Buddy Guy was the greatest living guitar player.
Yep, and Buddy Guy used to play with Jimi Hendrix.
And when I saw Buddy Guy twice, once with B.B. King, and once at a tribute to Hendrix at the Avila Beach Blues Festival. But I mean, you close your eyes and you're listening to Jimi Hendrix. But but you can turn that around and say, Jimi Hendrix, you're listening to who played it first, that way, because their styles can be very similar.
Yep. And Buddy Guy sadly doesn't get the same credit Jimi Hendrix does.
No, not at all.
Do you think if Jimmy was still alive today, he would be as revered as he is now? Because a lot of his mystery is that he only was in the music industry for like 4 years.
4 years as a band leader or whatever.
Yeah. And his music, I watched this documentary about him. His music
only 3 studio albums.
His music was going to significantly change. He was already working on an album that never got released. There was a big argument with the record company whether or not they should release the album, and that's kind of a conspiracy theory for another day, because they believe that the record company had something to do with his death. Like, it's a big, crazy thing. But
it always is, even with the Doors, Jim Morrison, a lot of them. There's always the conspiracies,
because around
the government did it. It just goes on and on and on.
Because around the time of Jimmy's death, he was working on a new studio album, which was not like anything he's done before. It was more so about his religious beliefs and more so about his political beliefs. Because around that time, he was a large supporter of the Black Panthers. And when he came out with his support of Black Panthers, his record company and his manager was on his case because they wanted a classic Hendrix album, and he didn't want to give it to them.
It's really the interesting question you said. It's really hard to say. He could have done something and it kind of bombed, and then he went back to his roots. Yeah. Because there is some Hendrix stuff I don't really care for.
Well, Hendrix himself, from what people near him said, is he didn't care about the fame. He wanted to write music for himself and for people that think the same way he does. He didn't care about the fame. His record company and his manager cared about the fame, because that's more money in their pocket.
Right, for sure.
Like, he didn't really care at that point of his life. And he actually has told multiple people he's not going to live to see 29. Whether or not it's due to lifestyle reasons or he knew something was going to happen.
Right. Well, like I said, there's conspiracy theories about so many of them, especially during the Vietnam protest days and stuff like that. All these musicians were dying, and because a lot of them were like spokesmen for the counterculture,
And back
it's the same rationale as that they classified pot into the same category as heroin, because all the leaders of the counterculture that were rallying people to protest and stuff, they all smoked pot, and they thought if they would classify it like that, they'd have an opportunity to put them all in prison.
Yep. And like you said, one of the main reasons, though, why pot became illegal was because there was a letter sent to the government that stated, this is quoted what was said, not my words. It said that marijuana makes white women want to sleep with black jazz musicians. And that was enough for the United States government to make it illegal.
Well, no, that's exactly. And how about no more rock and roll? And the DJs are breaking records, and congressmen are standing up in Congress saying, it's the devil's music, trying to ban it.
I'm sorry, but if anything's the devil's music, it's country. I believe it was Frank Zappa that said it. He's like, if the devil listens to anything, it's smooth jazz. Did you know the first ever album, since we're talking about them trying to petition against metal and stuff, when the PMRC was going after music, I might have asked you this last time I was on, I don't remember, but what was the first album that had a censorship logo that said parental advisory?
The Twisted Sister?
No. This is hilarious because it's very like moronic. Why?
Well,
I remember
I
it
think
happened.
it's Jethro Tull.
I'll give you a hint. It's one of the 3 people that went and fought against Congress and the PMRC.
It'll be Frank Zappa, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Jazz from Hell, an all instrumental album. Had a parental advisory sticker for explicit lyrics and material.
And it was instrumental.
It was an instrumental jazz album. What?
Wow. That is insane.
Frank Zappa said in an interview, he's like, they're so dumb they put an parental advisory sticker on an instrumental album.
Well, didn't Al Gore's wife head that up?
Yeah, and it was kind of funny. Did you watch Dee Snider? Did you hear what Dee Snider said when he was in front of court?
I remember seeing that. I can't remember.
He said the song in question with my band is Under the Blade, which has to do with my guitarist going in for arm surgery. And then Al Gore interrupted him and was like, well, my wife heard lyrics of sodomy. And he's like, well, music is open for interpretation. If you were listening to hear about an arm surgery, you'd hear it. If you heard about sodomy, you'd hear it. It's not my fault your wife's a pervert. Because they expected Dee Snider, a rock star, to not be smart. And the way Dee did it was intelligent. He went in, let his hair down. He was wearing like torn up jeans. He was wearing a jean shirt. He dressed up like he did in Twisted Sister, minus the makeup, and then outsmarted all of Congress dressed up that way.
I love that. That's
and
awesome.
then he's like, I adhere to Christian values. And Al Gore's like, what's the name of your fans? He's like, SMFers. And they're like, what do you call that? Sick motherfuckers. But nowhere in the Bible does it say you can't swear.
That's wild, man.
And then he was like, they're like, well, what about the lyrics? And he's like, can't you read the lyric sheet? We already put lyrics in the sleeve of the albums. It's up to the parents to read them, not the musicians. And then when they're like, don't you have parents at home? Don't you have kids at home? Sorry. Don't you have kids at home? What would you think if they listened to your music? He's like, my kids listen to my music and they love it. But me as a parent, it is my job to control what they listen to, not the musicians or the artists that do so. And like, I loved it because he gave them hell.
Sounds like I never heard anything before.
I bet you can find a lot of that video on YouTube.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube.
Of the hearings.
You can find the whole thing, not the whole hearing.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that.
You can find all of Dee Snider's. You can find, I think, all of John Denver's. And I believe Frank Zappa's is on there, too.
Yeah, I've seen Frank Zappa and John Denver when they were on there.
Another good one to watch if you like musicians outsmarting.
Like, this is like early 90s, right? I mean, what was the issue?
Yeah.
Why were they even
the PMRC, which was led by Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, was trying to censor music because it's causing violence and shit in schools and everything. So what happened was to fight this, 3 musicians went in to give their reasoning why this shouldn't happen. And the main reasoning that all of them said, I do believe, I could be wrong, one of them probably didn't, I don't know, it's been a while. But the argument was we already put lyrics in the album, read them. It's not up to us to say parental advisory. You figure it out as parents. And the 3 people that went was John Denver, Frank Zappa, and Dee Snider. Which I would love to have seen them 3 in a room together because I couldn't name any more different people. Yeah. Could you imagine that album? But yeah, Frank Zappa also was on. Remember the show Crossfire?
Oh yeah,
he was on there, and it is hilarious. Because he outsmarts all of them. Because he said on the Crossfire, some guy told Frank he has to get out more. And he just let it slide. He's like, okay. And he just sat there. And they're like, you have a song out called We're In It for the Money. And he's like, no, I have an album called We're In It for the Money, but I'm the one that has to get out more.
Well, you know, Michael Altini used to work with Twisted Sister. Nice. I don't know what he did exactly, actually.
Nice. Did he fluff up Dee's hair? Because that's a one-man job.
Maybe that's why he doesn't talk that much about it. I don't know.
He was Dee's fluffer. I shouldn't say that. That's a different profession. For those in the chat that don't know what a fluffer is, just Google it. I ain't saying it.
Yeah, I ain't saying it.
So I take it you guys know.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Got to keep them ready.
So what band?
What is Bill saying about Howlin' Wolf? He was a Chicago blues singer, guitarist, and harmonica player. Originally from Mississippi, he moved to Chicago in adulthood and became successful, influenced British bands. Yes, he did. He was a big influence on British bands, and so was all of our soul and blues, and they were all. There's countless stories of like people becoming friends and later bandmates, like in the Rolling Stones, because one of them always had some great music from the U.S. by these bands. You know, I think it was a Keith Richards, Mick Jagger story. I mean, they were all listening to this stuff. They were crazy for it, and you can see it in their early albums, especially. You know, a lot of them are just straight covers. I mean, obviously they're more rockified, not blues, but.
You know who was really innovative? Sorry to interrupt you. Just a random.
No. Go ahead. I was done.
A very innovative person that came out in the 80s and became very popular up through the 90s and now is Weird Al.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because Weird Al would do a parody of a song you probably haven't heard before, and then you go look at the original. And nowadays, you haven't made it if he doesn't parody your stuff. Which makes you wonder, should he be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No. Isn't he touring right now? I thought I saw his name recently.
He announced, and I went on the original one. He announced the unfortunate return of the what is it called? The unfortunate return of the ill-advised Vanity Tour, I think is the name of it. And he is doing no costume changes. He's doing no screens. He's doing no barely any parodies, all B-sides, all original songs mostly. And every night the set list changes.
He did a lot of good Michael Jackson stuff.
When I saw him, he did no parodies, but like two.
Really?
And the one parody he did was like a mashup of all of his parodies, but he would sing the lyrics of this one, but have the instrumentals of this one. So he made a completely different parody.
Right. Didn't he do Smells Like Teen Spirit?
Yeah, Smells Like Nirvana.
Yeah, it smells like Nirvana. That's exactly right.
Smells Like Nirvana.
He did a really good job on that.
What's crazy is he said that he doesn't have to, but he feels this is why his career has lasted as long as it has. Because parody artists have a shelf life of 3 years. The reason why he's lasted so long is he gets permission. He doesn't legally have to.
Okay.
But the music industry actually respects him as a parody artist because he asks permission. And it's gotten to the point where the artists ask him to do the parody.
Right.
One of which was Paul McCartney. And he actually changed his mind after he heard the parody. Because he wanted Weird Al to do Live and Let Die, and Weird Al wanted to do Chicken Pot Pie. But due to Paul being a vegan, he asked him to do Tofu Pot Pie.
No.
And Weird Al was like, as a vegan, I have to tell you I'm not doing the parody because it's not the same ring to it.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, Weird Al's been doing that for like 40 years now.
Since the early to mid 80s, I think.
Yeah, it's close to 40 years.
I think he originally started in 78, but wasn't releasing much because he was working for Dr. Demento.
Oh yeah, I remember Dr. Demento.
But his first single ever played was on Demento's show in 79, I think. I think it was Another One Rides the Bus.
Need to take my gummy for sleep later.
Is that melatonin or is that a different gummy?
No, it's a different gummy.
Oh, you're going to be seeing stars. Do you actually play, Royce, or do you collect guitars? Because I know there's people that collect.
I play out of it a little bit. Yeah.
You're going to have to do a live show where you're playing us some Pantera or something.
Yeah, that probably won't happen, but
have Dan singing.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't play or sing.
He just talks.
I can do just about everything with the band, but sing and play.
My younger brother got real good. He played all over Vegas. He was offered a job with Wayne Newton. His duo with his wife at the time was being written up by the guy that was writing up all the big acts in Vegas, and he was calling the Eddings duo a must-see duo. And so he got to be good and had a lot of bands, had a lot of fun.
But hey, Royce, I got a question.
Okay.
I just got to thinking about it. We are doing a Pink Sock Podcast end of the year episode.
Oh.
It is going to be on the 27th. If you're able to show up, or you or Dan, just let me know. It's just going to be like random discussion.
Oh, right on. That's on the 27th?
27th.
Let me see here. Okay, so that is next Monday.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Let me just mark my calendar a second.
If you can, it's all right. We're just going to try.
Yeah.
What time do you normally do it?
Noon Eastern Standard Time.
Noon time, okay.
Okay.
Just let me know, and I'll probably make a group chat because I'm going to try to get a bunch of people showing up. It might, even if you can donate only a few minutes. I mean, we're going to have several people coming in and out.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
And also we do have the show technically today because it's for me it's 12:22. We have Pink Sock Podcast. We have no we have no topics usually. We just randomly discuss it.
Yeah, well, and that's cool because I've noticed that a lot of the other shows and stuff are doing just that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you never know what you're gonna think of the day of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's been so many.
What I've been doing, Dan and I and a bunch of us, probably everybody in the chat, we all kind of came from another show, and it was all about albums, and music, and so I just kind of took off with some of that. But I was saying at the beginning of the show tonight that I don't know if just vinyl album unboxing week after. I mean, I'm on my second or third Beatles show, Elvis shows recently. I have Elvis recently, but he shows up as one of the game changers, So here we are with Elvis again. But I'm going to start mixing it up after the first of the year and do other things, I've already got a little travel show I do. In fact, I have one tomorrow and one Tuesday. Tuesday is my Christmas show. And I went down to Solvang, California, which is the Danish capital of the United States, and also one of the most Christmassy places in the United States, and did some filming at night, with all the lights and the windmills. It was a big stay plate set up and stuff like that. And did some filming. So that's on Tuesday night at 6:30. And then tomorrow night at 6:30, just a fun little one I made. We've got a cool little place here in Morro Bay, just 9 miles from where I live. And it's called Tognazzini's Dockside. And, it's like, fish tacos for $2.50, barbecued oysters for $1.50. You can bring your dog in there with you, it's dog friendly. But there's always free musicians playing just for tips, And the guy yesterday or Saturday when Betty and I were in there was just fantastic. So I sat there and filmed him for a while and stuff like that. So That's coming on tomorrow night at 6:30, and then the Christmas show's Tuesday night at 6:30. So I've been fitting these little travel vlogs in just for fun, and the reason I like them is, I'm not trying to compete with friends like Days with Jordan the Lion. Jordan the Lion's been doing it for a long time. He's really good at it, but it's just a little something different for me, and it usually involves me and my wife getting to go someplace we wouldn't have otherwise be going to, and having a nice meal while we're there. Like we went up to Carmel. And we did Clint Eastwood. We went to Clint Eastwood's ranch, Mission Ranch, had dinner, 22, 23 acres he owns up there. After dinner at his ranch and walking around the ranch and stuff like that, we drove down to Carmel, downtown Carmel, to the Hog's Breath Inn that he owned for 27 years and then sold to a friend of his. It went in there, and then the bar scene was fun. We were kidding around with the bartenders and the waiters and stuff like that. And I asked one of them, I said, Clint been in lately? And everybody in the whole room could hear and stuff, Everybody was kind of getting involved. And they go, he was in last night, I go, he was in last night? I go, great. I say, is he a pretty nice guy? He's the best guy in the world. He signed my check so I could get my money. and everybody just laughing and stuff. And we just had fun in there for a while, and then wound up walking down the street past all the little art galleries, wound up on the white sand beach with the aqua blue water and stuff like that, So it actually has been fun because we're going places that we wouldn't have otherwise gone that weekend, and having something to eat, filming a little, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes usually, they're short. And anyway, so I've been having fun with that. So, but anyway, after the first of the year, I want to mix it up, not just vinyl album unboxing, but I mean other things,
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to like the podcast and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to promote more because I have a tendency of on my show promoting everyone else. Then when I go on a show, I just talk about shit and then I leave and I'm like, fuck, nobody knows where I'm from.
Go ahead. You've got the floor. Go ahead and promote right now.
So we are on Facebook. We are live on Facebook and YouTube weekly every Monday. We might not be live every Monday in the future, but we are currently live every Monday. The show will always go live on Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
You can find us on Instagram. We have an Instagram. Our Instagram is, let me make sure I get this 100% right because I'm not the one that set it up. Okay, it is at official Pink Sock Podcast. I'm actually doing promotional videos on there now, like fun little skits and stuff that I'm going to start doing in the near future. You can find us on Facebook at the Pink Sock Podcast, and we're live on my YouTube page. It is youtube.com/Mike Husnick. I'm going to try to make a Pink Sock page separate. It's just hard to keep track of all these different pages. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but we are live on Facebook. Go follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Our show, I think, is different than other shows when you have like guests on, because I don't want to be that guy that's like, so you guys are on tour. What's that like? No, I want to know, like, what's the most messed up porn you found in your search history? I want to know, like, what did you like? I want to know, do you have digestive problems? Like, I really like, like, I just want to dig into the mind of people. Like, I had Ryan on. We all know Ryan of Alice's band.
Yeah, Ryan Roxy. Yeah.
And I see so many interviews where they're like, you have the Roxy. Like, I don't mind promoting, but I'm like, so when did you first find out what a pink sock was? And if you don't know what that is, if you're going to Google it, please don't do it with safe search off on images because it's disgusting. It's gross. But yeah, Pink Sock Podcast is the show that I do. I am live every Monday with my host/co-host, Adam Garak from Australia. And I have Naomi, who's my producer and sometimes also a host. She lives in England, but she's from Britain. So she's in Germany, but speaks with a British accent.
You're worldwide, man.
Yeah, I'm famous everywhere.
That's one place. Betty and I went to Australia shortly after 9/11. In fact, we canceled the trip because of 9/11. And then as soon as it cleared up a little bit, we took off and went. That is one place I could live, is Australia, other than the United States. I loved it there. And you know what? Once people realized I was a Yank, they were like, "Hey, we're with you, brother. Let's go get them." They all wanted to go to the Middle East and blow the shit out of it. I mean, they really like Americans there, you know. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I was surfing there. I bought a surfboard, brought it home, carried it through 3 international airports, 9 feet long. Wound up on the rocks my first day out. My leash snapped. I came back. I was kind of cocky. It's like I've been surfing in Australia. I can surf anything. I go out on this day that's like twice the size I'd normally go out. The first wave holds me down for so long. I actually thought I was going to die. I finally start to see some daylight. I surfaced just in time to take a gasp of air before the next similar wave pounded me back down. It's like being in a washing machine. You're flailing, it's dark. You don't know which way is up. You're waiting for it to kind of release. Well, these waves were big and they weren't releasing, After 3 of those in a row, I was so exhausted. I couldn't even swim. I was so exhausted.
I'm glad you made it.
I finally made it over to more rock and started climbing my way up. And the surge would come in and boost me up. Then I'd be clawing on the rocks as my wetsuit's filling up with water and taking me back down, But it was ugly, man. My board wound up, hitting the rocks and all that. The board I carried through 3 airports, right?
We're out in Australia. Where are you?
I was like, the Golden Sunshine Coast, the East Coast there, and went to Noosa Head. Really enjoyed Noosa Heads. I'd get up at 4 a.m. and go out there to surf, and the guy they call the Admiral, 72 years old, surfs every single day, always the first one on the water. If I got there when it was dark, he was already sitting on his board, like, "What took you so long?" And it was a great guy. He goes, "Royce, you see those 2 blokes over there?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Any wave you want, just take it. I don't care if they're already on it. You want it, you take it." He goes, "They're from New Zealand. They come here every year. You just take any wave you want."
Did it confuse you when you went to Australia?
Oh,
and you saw a Macca's?
Hey, my wife kept pulling me back up on the curb. I was about to get ran over because they drive the opposite. I rented the car. We got on the freeway and everything was backwards. I'd never done that before. And it was like crazy.
Did you have a rental?
Yeah.
How confusing was it getting in the opposite side of the car?
Oh, it was crazy, man.
Kept getting in the passenger seat.
I don't know how I survived it, to be honest with you.
Royce over here keeps accidentally getting in the passenger seat to drive.
Who took the steering wheel?
Right.
No, over in Australia, they don't have McDonald's or Burger King.
Oh, okay.
We covered that on the podcast last week. They have Macca's and Hungry Jack's. Because Australia,
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, because Australians love, and if you want to see us talk about all things Australia or Star Wars, go check out the last episode we did on Pink Sock. We covered all of this. Macca's is what McDonald's is. It is McDonald's, but Australians shorten their words, so they just changed it to Macca's. And Hungry Jack's is because Burger King already had. There was a restaurant in Australia that had the copyright already for Australia for Burger King. So Burger King had to legally name it Hungry Jack's.
Hungry Jack.
And there's nothing more Australian than the name Hungry Jack's.
And over here, Hungry Jack is a pancake, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, one of the funny things about Australia is there's a tip jar on the counter in a restaurant. You don't leave some 20% tip. You throw a couple of bucks in the tip jar.
No.
And so they don't really cater to you like they do here. Everybody's eating at a different time. It's all unorganized. And finally, so we ordered something that we were back in the hinterlands in the country, and we ordered something. I ordered a milkshake with my meal, and a pretty waitress and stuff. And she comes out. I go, by the way, you forgot my milkshake. And she real indignant. Well, did you survive? It's like, yeah, did you?
But what's crazy about Australia from my foundings, and I don't know if we said that on the show or not, tips are actually not, the consumer is not, it's not up to the consumer to pay the person so that they can live. Australia actually pays their servers minimum wage or more. Like a lot better than the tip is basically if you had a good meal, if you want to, you don't have to. It's not
tips to ensure proper service.
Yeah. Well, in Australia, they say that it shouldn't be up to the consumer to pay the person. It should be up to the company, because the reason why tips even existed in the first place was during the Great Depression in America, and places couldn't afford the servers. So they left it up to the consumer whether or not they ate that week.
Okay.
And we never like got out of that. Australia's like, oh, good day, mate. You go, the tips are up to us, not them, down under there.
Right.
I know a lot of Australians, so I'm all crocky, mate. Oh.
No worries, mate. No worries.
No worries, mate. They also treat swearing differently in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like most people in Australia don't second look if you curse, because that's on television in Australia.
Well, one of the things that struck me, you should check with your friend about this. I'm sitting there, we're all sitting there, and it's different here. If you go into a restaurant here and you sit at the table, that's your table. But if you sit down at a table with extra chairs, anybody that wants to sit down, sit down. So I'm sitting there, and this family sits down at our table, and the guy's like, "Well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a contractor." And he goes, "I go, what do you do?" He goes, "Well, I'm an engineer." I go, "Oh." And he goes, how much holiday do y'all get? Not vacation, holiday. I go, well, shit, if you work there long enough, you can get two week vacation. I go, what about you guys? He goes, well, it's a federal law. If you work at a company for 12 years, you get 12 weeks off with pay.
Yep.
And you can break it up any way you want, 2-3 weeks here, 4 weeks there. I mean, I really like that system.
Another good system is what Denmark has.
Okay.
If a woman, I don't know if Australia has this or not, they might. If a woman gets pregnant, she gets a year of paid maternity leave. The guy gets 6 months of paid leave too.
Wow.
So what do they do? Just make babies over there?
What are the populations growing?
Well, the thing with Denmark is the minimum wage. The minimum wage is $20 an hour out there. But
I was up at what is it, the Panda Express the other day, and it was like, servers $19 an hour, in the kitchen $22, and that got up $2 in like the last 2 months.
And you didn't apply?
And I remember everybody bitching about a $15 minimum wage, how that was gonna, burgers were gonna cost $40 and all this shit. Now the restaurants have all gone beyond 15 voluntarily because nobody wants to work it anymore.
Since we're talking
in Texas. No. Fast food around here, you'd be lucky to get $12.
Since we're talking,
I went to a drive-through at Taco Bell, and on the window it said, "We'll pay for your education. You get a 401k."
Since we're talking about this, I hear a lot of talking points when it comes to why they shouldn't make this or that. None of them work. None of the talking points are realistic. If the price of minimum wage goes up to $15 an hour, goes up to $20, it's not going to change the price of that burger. Go to Denmark or other established countries where the minimum wage is higher. The price of a Big Mac is cheaper than the United States. The minimum wage is $20 an hour in Denmark. They have free health. They have universal health care. They have tuition-free colleges. Their tax is higher. But look at how much taxes Americans pay. We pay taxes upon taxes on top of taxes, on top of these taxes, on top of those taxes. If you own a house in West Virginia, you have to pay for every car that is on that property at the end of the year in a tax. So you not only have to pay the car tax for the title, you don't only have to pay the yearly tax for the plates, you got to pay for the car being there. So technically Americans pay more in taxes than any other country, and we don't want to talk about it.
But it kind of compounds, so there's so many different small ones,
Yeah, and in other countries like Denmark and stuff, they don't have that. They have the tax at the end of the year. If I could be mistaken, so if you're from Denmark, let me know. But from what I've heard and understood was they have the tax at the end of the year and product tax. They don't have to pay any extra land taxes. They don't have to pay any of that shit. They just pay one tax for one thing.
I've been to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam's nice, I've heard, but it's the New York of Denmark.
Well, I had no idea the
Netherlands. Sorry, they're the New York of Netherlands.
I had no idea the canals were so prevalent there. It was just like being in Venice, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the like the Las Vegas of the Netherlands.
Right.
That's where, like, if you want a $20 hooker and some pot, you can go to the coffee shop.
See, that used to be the thing. Everybody wanted to go to Amsterdam because you could smoke dope over there, you know. Well, we got it here now.
Well, the thing is about Amsterdam is I saw an interview. It was a comedian riding around with a cop all day. And Amsterdam, pot has never been legal in Amsterdam until recently. No. The way that Amsterdam law works is different than the United States.
Yeah.
What you do in a private business or in the privacy of your own home is none of law enforcement's business.
Yeah.
You can do cocaine off your table and a cop outside your window looking, none of their business. It's only what you do on public property.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like a cop can literally stand outside of a public private business and watch you smoke pot. And the only thing the cop can do is safely drive you home.
Amsterdam was kind of a trip. You know, you got that red light district down there, and then the little coffee shops in the narrower alleys. You know, in fact, I made a video that I have online on it's not really a podcast, but it's a video I made that you can find with my podcast. You know,
You've lived the coolest life. I'll just applaud you for that, because you've been to some of the coolest fucking places that I wish I could have went to.
Well, you will. I didn't go till late in life. I mean, this is only like a couple of years ago.
Because I would love to go to Amsterdam. I want to go.
Oh, you'll like it. I've never seen so many bicycles in my life, though. I mean, it's just I got out. What did we got off the plane? And it was just an ocean of bikes. I mean, it was insane. Everybody rides a bike. I mean, they get around real quick, you know.
I've heard that Amsterdam
is narrow, and you got to kind of pay attention when you're a pedestrian.
Doesn't Amsterdam also have separate roads for bikes too? Or is that Denmark?
Maybe it's Denmark. I don't remember seeing that in Amsterdam. They all shared the same thing.
Well, they do, but there's also set like roads and shit that they do for bikes.
They were all real narrow. I don't think there was any real room to divide it between bikes and cars.
From what I've heard too, like you said, with all the bikes, there's actually more people without a driver's license in Amsterdam than there are with, because they bicycle everywhere.
I can believe that. Yeah, I can. You know what really strikes you in some of these countries is you think about all our OSHA rules and laws. You know, you get up in a restaurant, you go, where's the restroom at? They point to this little narrow stairway that goes like, I mean, it's like this wide. It goes straight up, you know, and it's going to send you up 3 stories to the bathroom. And it's like, you know, that would never fly here. You know?
Right.
If you didn't have an elevator, you better have that bathroom downstairs, you know. I mean, I'm like holding on to those rails tight. I mean, it was dangerous.
With as dangerous as that is, you might even go to the bathroom before you get there. Over there, shitting bricks.
Speaking of bathrooms, I experienced something weird last weekend. I was coming back from Austin, coming back up to Dallas, and I don't know if you ever heard of these. At least they got them here in Texas, called Buc-ee's. It's a huge, huge gas station. Mm-hmm. They must have like 100 pumps. The inside the store is like a mall. It's huge, and this place is packed all the time.
Oh,
everybody,
wow.
You know, you go up there, you got to wait in line to get gas. There's like 100 pumps. It just, but you can buy beef jerky, you can buy all the souvenir stuff. I mean, a saddle if you want to buy a saddle. It's got everything in this place, and of course, being off the highway, people stopped because they got to use the restroom. Well, I stop in there, get gas. Now I'm going to go use the restroom. There's a line, long ass line, coming out of the men's restroom. And there's a black dude there standing there directing traffic. He goes, the line is for sitting. If you don't have to sit, you go on in. He said they're directing traffic for pooping and pissing.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
Just missed an opportunity to say the bench is for sitting, the bathroom's for shitting. Let's go.
But they're mega. They're not really truck stops. They're not for truckers really. They're just automobiles. but it's
Wow.
we got like 3 of them in the Metroplex here in Dallas Fort Worth.
I think that's just Texas that has them.
It's just unbelievable. They're called Buc-ee's. And
Right.
you know, who was it saying you could buy the T-shirt which got a picture of a beaver, and this buddy of mine was walking in, and well, he told me about it. I wasn't with him, and he's got like blue hair, and the girl that works there's got the Buc-ee's T-shirt on, and seeing him, she goes, "Oh, I like your hair," and he goes, "I like your beaver."
Yeah, I think Buc-ee's is
That's dangerous.
I think Buc-ee's is just a Texas thing, because I know when I was traveling from Ohio to Phoenix, there was a lot of different gas stations in different places in the United States. Like in the Midwest and the East, we have Sheetz, and I believe Buc-ee's is like a Southern thing, and then the West has Quick Trips.
Well, we have Quick Trips here, but they're regular gas stations.
Yeah, there was a couple Quick Trips that was like you said, a bunch of pumps and shit.
Yeah. Well, Jeff Davidson says in the chat room, Buc-ee's is like the Disneyland of the interstate.
Oh my God, is that right?
It's unbelievably big.
Wow.
That's not what she said, Dan. Quite the opposites.
Or Buc-ee's is like the Kmart of the day. I've never seen a place like this before. You would think something that big, you know, wouldn't be so crowded. I go to gas stations. Well, look, there's no line over there, but people, they're like bugs to a light, to that truck stop, like gas station. It's unbelievable.
It seems like when you build places huge like that, that's when they're busy as shit like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like the smaller ones, people are like, "Oh, there's no pumps available." But if you got like 100 pumps.
Well, it is on I-35 going straight through Texas. You know, and I-35 goes all the way up to Minnesota, so it's one of those NAFTA highways where it's supposed to go all the way to Mexico. So you know, for years they've been expanding I-35 through Texas. It's like 4 lanes all the way to almost to the Mexico border, and it's been under construction for years. They're just about done with it now, and when they get done, it's going to be great. Believe it or not, I put it on cruise control at 93 miles an hour. That's cruise control. And people are passing me.
Well, you know what? You know where I experienced that? I went to Sturgis, South Dakota, the annual Sturgis Rally, motorcycle rally. And my Ultra Classic, it's a big bike. It's got cruise control and stuff like that. And my wife went with me. I finished this I'd planned this all year, it seemed like. And then we're in the middle of the recession and things are like really bad and construction is really down. And I finished this little job, and at the last moment, I looked at my wife and I said, "You know what? We just got to check. I'm going to Sturgis." And she goes, "Well, I guess I'm going with you." So it was like 2 days later, we're on our way. It was a 3,400-mile round trip.
Wow.
And we did all the riding in 5 days. Then 2 days there hanging out in Sturgis and the Black Hills of Dakota. Oh, it was what a beautiful place. Sturgis and the Black Hills of Dakota, and just we were in Deadwood City is where we actually found a little campsite. We bought a $29 Walmart tent in Provo, Utah on the way there, and we didn't have any accommodations. Supposed to book 6 or 9 months in advance. We said, let's just go see what happens. And when we got to Vegas, my bike wouldn't start. And we're at the Harley shop. I wanted to go see the biggest Harley shop in Vegas before we got on the road that morning. My bike wouldn't start. They rolled it in, and now it's noon and we're leaving, and it's like 130 degrees on the highway, it seems like. And my wife's pouring water on both of us while we're driving down the highway. And she finally leans forward and whispers, "If you don't pull over, I'm going to fall off." And so we found this little casino in Mesquite, Nevada. Went in there and sat around, played slot machines, little machines until it cooled off, and then we took off again. But we get to Provo, Utah, not Provo, Utah. We finally get to Sturgis, staying in Deadwood City, just down the road, and the trolley shows up, and the trolley's taking everybody down into the town because we're at a campground. And so we get downtown, and it starts raining like crazy. Rained 7 inches on us. 7 inches that night, and we're in like a little $29 tent. I think we're the only people that weren't sitting in a little flood zone, so we didn't get wet inside our tent. but the bikes got 7 inches of rain on them. And so what I didn't realize, this is all like Indian reservation land. In every goddamn store, I don't care if it looked like a drugstore, a mini mart, or whatever you thought it was always a door that opened that went to a casino. There was a casino in every freaking store in Deadwood City. Damn. And I was playing a quarter machine. I hit a $500 jackpot. That was sweet.
That's how they get you. You're not supposed to go into those casinos.
But it was a fun time. We went to the Crazy Horse exhibit and Mount Rushmore, saw all that stuff and just rode around in some beautiful countryside. But we made it home. We were anxious to get home. We went a different route to see some different country on the way home. And it was like one leg of the trip, we rode for 11 hours, other than stopping for gas and to get something to eat. We just 11 hours before we found a place to sleep or anything. But we're talking about the cruise control. When you're going through Wyoming, you're going like 70 miles an hour and people are passing you like you're standing still, like you're not even moving. So now you're doing 80, now you're doing 90, and you'll see a car coming, kind of toward you, and it might be a cop, and you're doing 90 miles an hour. So you roll off on the throttle until you can make out what it is. Then you get back on it. You're back to 90 miles an hour. Then you come across a freaking elk laying on the side of the road that got hit by a car that would have like disintegrated you if you hit it on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, just a monster laying there at the edge of the road.
So you ride motorcycles, so you might appreciate the story I have for you. I was at the Harley dealership in Scottsdale with a buddy of mine, and this guy said, "You missed it last week." He's like, "We had this 95-year-old woman, I believe was her age. She was in her 90s. She called the Harley dealership and was like, wanting to have a bike shipped to her in South Dakota. Well, apparently there was something wrong with the shipping process, and she said, fuck it. She got on a plane, flew to Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, bought the bike and drove it home.
Jeez.
90-something years old, and she called them.
Man.
She called them and was like, I made it. And they're like, did you stop? She's like, once.
Oh,
that's wild.
She got bigger balls than me.
Right? Like, goddamn.
Well, every year we'd have Ride for Dime down here in Dallas. And of course, it was on his birthday, which is August 20th. And that's the hottest time of the year down here in Dallas. And one year it was, every year I'd take whatever the temperature was, I'd record it. And I know the hottest year was 107 degrees. And that's just air temperature. When you sit on a Harley and that heat is coming up from the motor, my God, you could add 20, 30 degrees to it.
Yeah, and off the road too,
The asphalt. And so we were maybe 10 miles into the ride. And, Video Bob, he was in the ride. His girlfriend was passing out, riding the bike. He was holding on to her. And he said, passed me and said, I'm losing her. And he made an exit, exit off the highway. But yeah, then we ended up, there was a traffic accident on one of the highways. So the ride had to come to a stop. So I got 350 motorcycles behind me, and we're just idle. And the guy that's beside me, he was a Diamondback photographer. This guy wore camo shorts while riding his Harley in 107 degree, literally burnt his thighs. I mean, it was bad. He had blisters.
Yeah.
So man, when you ride on a bike on a hot day, you got to wear that leather or at least jeans. No matter how much you sweat, because you got to keep that heat off your skin.
I was 18 years old. I rode my first Harley from Henderson, Nevada, where I grew up, to California. I was moving to California. I actually had already moved, and I came back to get my bike, and ride it back to California. And I had a tank top on, I had real long hair, and a headband on, and I got there, and I'm telling you, I mean, I had a big white stripe across my forehead. And I was just blistered. I had blisters, I mean, the size of the tip of your thumb on my chest and stuff, where my tank top drooped down like this. And I had to go to work like that. Oh, my God. I think I quit that job the day that I went back, because I just couldn't. I was in so much pain and agony,
in the summertime, the biggest thing motorcycle riders get in trouble with is dehydration, because you're in that heat, you're sweating, but you're riding, and your sweat is drying off before it can do its business. So you're sitting there sweating, you don't realize how much you've sweated because it's all evaporated.
That was an issue I had living in Phoenix. Oh, speaking of, since we're talking about doing things out in the heat and stuff, there was a festival. I don't know if it still goes on or not, but a band I listened to, I think it might have been Guar. They said they were doing a festival in Phoenix during the summer. It was an outdoor festival, 127 degrees.
Oh, no.
They're like, this is the worst thing ever. They had to put ice packs in their costumes, and it melted before they even went on stage.
Yeah, well, we had similar here in Dallas. We had the Texas Jam every year, and it was 4th of July. And the very first year they had it, me and my wife, well, she was my girlfriend then, was our very first outdoor concert. So we never experienced anything like this. We get inside the Cotton Bowl with 100,000 people on the 4th of July. Temperature on the floor was 120 degrees on the floor.
Oh, man.
And so in between acts, they'd be up on the stage with fire hoses, just hosing us down, and everybody just trying to get something. And I remember at one point my wife said, she goes, I'm dying of thirst. I got to get something to drink. She goes, I'll be back in a minute. Well, the place was so packed, you're just shoulder to shoulder everywhere you went. And she's gone for about an hour. I'm thinking, oh my God, I've lost my girlfriend. Where's, I'll never find her. She finally comes down the stairs and she looks all ragged. She gives me a cup of water. And I said, well, I thought you were going to get some ice. She goes, this was ice. It's water now. I go, oh, hell. So I just wanted something to pour it. And the water was hot. I went, this is awful. But the good thing about experiencing something like that, you earn your creed, or what do you call it? Your cred. Man, cred. I did it. I survived it. Now I can talk about it.
Right. And that's why I had to ride my bike to not Laughlin, but I mean Sturgis, because I had planned with a couple of guys to ride our bikes there, and then my buddy's friend came up from LA and goes, no, you guys don't want to ride there. And I went, yeah, we're going to ride there. And he goes, no. When was the last time you rode that far, Royce? I go, never. Well, I did it, but I was 18 years old, and it was rough on me then. He goes, and he talks Dave, my good buddy that was with me when our other friend died, on the Toys for Tot run, and he talks Dave into taking his motor home. So the guys are all going to trailer their bikes there. No, I'm not saying I would never do that. I've did a little ride that way before, but it was my first trip to Sturgis, and I had to ride my bike, and earn the right to wear that Sturgis T-shirt.
Yeah, because if you trailer your bike, they kind of harass you when they hear you trailered your bike.
Yeah,
The real bikers ride.
So they would when they felt like it, they'd pull over, and one of them would get on a bike and ride for a little while, and then they'd put it back in the trailer and continue with the motorhome. Yeah. Like, to me, that just wasn't what we have like touring bikes. I mean, I had a Fat Boy too, which was all stripped down and lowered and everything, but we had touring bikes. I mean, let's take a tour, not in the motorhome, but on the bikes,
Right. Get to the city limits of Sturgis, you untrailer your bike,
throw
some water on
it, and come riding in,
That's cheating.
Cheating to the max. Yeah.
So guys, I got to get going because I got
You know what, guys? I want to thank you guys very much. No problem. Dan, I always appreciate it. And Mike, I really appreciate you.
I've been meaning to show up. It's just your timing.
Very, very entertaining, But so I appreciate it. Yeah. Anytime. But I want to say, Bill and Caitlin and Jeff and everybody that's hung out in the chat, man, you guys are really appreciated too. I mean, more than you'll ever know, because I mean, seriously, I mean if you look at any of the shows, the numbers are all down right now. Of course, it's the holiday season, but also during COVID, everybody was kind of trapped at home,
Yeah.
And I think the podcasts just got really popular, And now that people, I mean, there's a place in town here that if you went in there on Friday or Saturday night and stayed any time at all before the night was over, everybody you knew came in and got a drink, And people like having a place like that, clubs and bars. And this place had a nice restaurant. It had a sushi place in it, had a nice lounge bar.
In the words of Ryan Roxy, podcasts are like herpes. You never know who has them. So everyone you know might have it.
Yeah. Well, and there are, and people, it becomes kind of an addiction, once you've been on other people's shows and stuff like that, you get kind of a taste of it. It's like, well, what could I do?
It's a confidence booster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But I'm going to get off of here. So
anyway, we all appreciate everybody in the chat that shows up. And Caitlin had a show last night. Was it last night? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, Caitlin's Corner. Yeah. And Caitlin's great. She's got a lot of stuff to talk about. She knows more about sports than the three of us combined. I saw myself there out of the corner of my eye. I thought I was the fourth person here.
Your edibles kicking in. That's what's happening.
I hope so.
He saw us down in the bottom, how StreamYard has, and he's like, there's so many people. You need to go to bed, Royce.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you all very much. We're signing off. Don't forget, I have a little fun travel vlog both Monday and Tuesday night. Tuesday being the Christmas show, but the Monday one's fun too because I'm filming live music being played, and there's a little bit of singing along going on and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. But anyway, so thank you everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.
Right.
And also share that gummy next time.
Thank you guys.